Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would say if you take your seats, but I see that the house is full. So if you find a nice, comfortable place to lean up against the back wall, and let's bring this council meeting to order Wednesday, November 17th, 2010, 5:35 in the evening, 790 North Homestead Boulevard, Homestead, Florida, 33030. At this time, I'd like to call to order the meeting, the invocation and pledge allegiance. At this time, I'd like to ask Father Jim McCraner to come forward. Well, thank you, Father. And the pledge allegiance will be led by Councilman John Burgess and our prestigious police honor guard.
Let us pray. Ever patient God, we pray for our city and for all the people who call it home, whether we have been here for a few months or our entire lives. Forgive us when we fail to listen to each other. Forgive us when we belittle the customs or symbols, language or color or religion of our neighbors. Help us to understand that only as we bind up the broken places in each other will we begin to heal ourselves. As we gather this evening, Lord, we pray for wisdom, knowledge, and courage to guide our elected officials in their deliberations, so that justice and truth will guide them in their work. And for ourselves, Lord, we promise to be people of patience, generosity, and faith. Help us to keep our promises. Amen.
Amen.
Would everybody please join me in pledging this great nation? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. On. Right. Right. Forward, march.
Please take your seat. Madam Clerk, if you'd be so kind to call the roll.
Councilman Burgess?
Here.
Councilwoman Lobos? Here. Councilman Maldonado?
Here.
Councilman Shelley?
Here.
Councilman Williams?
Here.
Vice Mayor Woolman?
Here.
Mayor Bateman?
Here. At this time, we'd like to open the floor for some brief public comment. And if the charter school issue will come up, and you'll have time to speak under that, but anything other than the charter school, if you'd like to come forward now to the podium, state your name and address, and please be brief, as we've got a long meeting.
Ask everyone to speak up to the AC.
It's a little noisy too with the AC, so if you just speak right into the mic.
Thank you. Yeah. Very briefly, my name is Tom Terwilliger. I'm president of a company called New World Global. We're a certified bidder for the city of Homestead, and I just wanted to come before the city, and we've been talking to the city about investing $15 million in the community. We wanted to say that thank you to the council, thank you to the mayor for all of the support and the assistance that we've had in talking to the various city departments. And again, thank you for allowing us to become part of your community.
Thank you, sir.
Kevin Sullivan, 1860 Southeast 6th Court, Homestead. I'm coming before you tonight, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to point out, we all know what great work Mr. Julio Barrera has done, but it never ceases to amaze me when I pick the phone up and ask him for certain facts on something. He's there, he gets back to me, he gives me an answer. So I'd like to point that out, because in my mind, he's a true public servant. Now I'd like to make an observation. You know, that's the second part. First, I'd like to say that you have these special call meetings. You have had more special call meetings in this last year than we've had in 5 years. Now, the way I look at it, if you're doing a good job and you're doing your research, they can't be that special if you can have that many in 1 year. And I'm still going to file my objection, you've heard me before, to the 5:30 start time. I'm fairly lucky I can adjust my schedule and get out of work early, but not everybody can do that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments, and I want to thank all the people here tonight that made it at 5:30, so thank you very much. Any further comments under, yes, please, Mr. Garza.
Good afternoon. My name is Cipriano Garza. I live at 101 Northeast 19th Street here in Homestead. I want to come by and say thank you to all of you. About a year ago, you were elected to this very prestigious board, Mr. Bateman, and Vice Mayor Judy Wallman, and all of you board members. For the past 12 months, you've done a commendable job. And I want to come tonight and say thank you to all of you, because these are trying times for our country, our state, and our city. And yet, you all have done a commendable job. So, to all of you, the departments from City Hall to police services, you've done a commendable job. Last week, we had a wonderful Veterans Parade. We all enjoyed that. Thank you so very much. Tonight, I especially want to say thank you on behalf of the farm workers of South Dade. You all have tackled the problems of the Housing Authority. You've appointed some wonderful people to that board, competent, caring people, and I want to thank you for that. They've begun to address the many issues, the problems we've had there for a number of years. Just this past fall, every child who lived at Redland Camp, South Dade Camp, got a book back because of you. All of you on that board made that happen. Those kids went to school like every other kid, with their backpacks, ready to learn. That's a dropout prevention tool, and again, Mr. Mayor and all the board members, I thank you for that. Next, this coming December, Kiwanis is going to give every child at the labor camp probably the only Christmas gift they're going to get. And again, you made that happen. So in all things I want to say to you and the city, men and women of the city of Homestead, thank you for doing a great, great job. You're sending some very powerful message to all of us. You care about all of us. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, no further comment under public comment. That's nice. That's nice. Usually it's a little bit longer line for public comment. That means we're doing our job. That's good. All right, the next item on our agenda, let's moving right along, is additions, deletions, and deferrals. Any additions, deletions, or deferrals at this time? Okay, hearing none.
Mayor.
Yes? Oh,
there is one item that,
yes, sir.
that I'd like to add is a deferral of item 7A-I, which is the item under tab 16. I'm going to move it to the next council meeting.
Okay, anything further?
Mayor?
Yes.
I guess at this time I would like to announce that my presentation under 5E with Commissioner Linda Bell, I informed you that I received a phone call from her right before the meeting. She's still stuck in a meeting with County Mayor Carlos Alvarez and has not been able to make it to Homestead. I would like to delete it from this agenda and move it to the December agenda, please.
That's fine with me, thank you. Anything further? Additions, deletions, or deferrals? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move to item A, a CRA.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, we just need a motion
okay,
to
please,
make those
motion
changes.
to move that forward. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item A, Richard, CRA fiscal year 2011 budget amendment.
An ordinance to the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city's fiscal year budget beginning October 1st, 2010, and ending September 30th, 2011, by increasing both the revenue and expenditure budget by $174,006, providing for severability and an effective date.
Motion?
I move it.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
It's an ordinance, Mr. Mayor. We need a roll call.
Okay, roll call vote.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Councilman Shelley.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Woolman.
Yes.
Councilman Burgess.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos.
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move into special presentations. And the first one is Mayor Bateman with the favorite county commissioner, Katie Sorensen. Please come forward. Please come forward. Stand next to me. I like when you stand next to me. Yes, thank you. It's Katie Sorensen is represented us at the county level in an outstanding way. There's never a time that I, going back to 1995, did not pick up that telephone that she did not answer. There's never been a time that we did not have a small crisis or a major crisis that she did not appear here on the scene. And she has been outstanding, and I really hate to see her go, but it's time for the next endeavor in her life, and so she's going to move on. Hopefully she'll tell us some good things about it, but I didn't want to go without giving her our most prestigious award, which is a key to the city. And Katie Sorensen, please give her a round of applause, because she has done an outstanding job for us. Thank you. Well deserved. With sincere appreciation to Commissioner Katie Sorensen for extraordinary service to the people of the city of Homestead. Thanks for the many miles you have traveled on behalf of the city of Homestead. We will never forget your services and your friendship to this community. The city of Homestead salutes you. Mayor Stephen C. Bateman, Vice Mayor Judy Wallman, Councilman John Burgess, Councilwoman Wendy Lobos, Councilman Elvis Maldonado, Councilman Stephen Shelley, Councilman Jimmy Williams III. Katie, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all you've done for us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. This is a high honored, and council members, I am very deeply honored by this tonight. And I know you have a long agenda, but I just want to say a couple things. As a few of you know, who I remember Bo Bollinger was here in the very beginning, and Sip Garza and Tom Jones was here. You might remember I was pretty green when I started, and I don't mean that in the environmental way. But together, we learned together, and I worked so hard for this community, and I grew to love Homestead. And it was 2 years after Hurricane Andrew when I was first elected in 1994. So much has happened since. You've had your ups, your downs. You're going to be on the upswing soon, and I know that you're going to thrive. I'm very excited to see the development that you're going to do in downtown Homestead, and you have so many bright people on your council, people who are committed to the public interest, and I know you're going to do well. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm going on to the University of Miami, and I'm starting a program for local and state elected officials to teach issues of governance, and I'm not going to do that all by myself. I'm going to get the best and brightest people from around the region to help with that effort, but I'm very excited about the opportunity, and so I will still be in public service, but in a slightly different way, and I intend to keep my friendship with the city of Homestead, and again, I'm very honored by this key to the city. Thank you again.
Well, unfortunately, tonight we're saying goodbye to another great person in this community, and I would appreciate it if you all would help me welcome Brigadier General Hector Pagan, who was the commander at Sauk South over here on the air base, and a 32-year veteran of the United States Army. General Pagan, it's a great honor to be here tonight and say goodbye to you. Unfortunately, to say goodbye to you, as you will be leaving the community soon. But I wanted to take this time to tell you and your wife, who didn't make it tonight, thank you for your 32 years of service, not just to Homestead, but to the entire country. And with that, I sincerely want to express my gratitude to you. And I'd like to read this proclamation. If you'll bear with me, I've got a little bit of a sore throat and all. Whereas Brigadier Hector E. Pagan was commissioned as an infantry officer from the ROTC program at the University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez, where he was a military student. He's a graduate of the Infantry Officer Basic and Advanced courses, the Combined Arms and Services Staff School, the Special Forces Detachment Officer Qualification Course, the Army Command and General Staff Course, the Joint Forces Staff College, and the Army War College. He earned a master's degree in management from Troy State University and a master's degree in strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College. And whereas Brigadier General Hector E. Pagan held many posts, including commander of the 5th SF Airborne Group in Baghdad, Iraq, Operation Iraq Freedom, and led the group in combat as the commander of the Combined Joint Special Operations Task Force for 2 combat tours in 2003 and 2004. He was the Deputy Commander, U.S. Army Special Operations Command, Deputy Commander, U.S. Army John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, as well as Commander of the Special Operations of Command South, his current position that he just retired from. Whereas Brigadier General Hector E. Pagan has received many awards and decorations during his distinguished career, including Defense Superior Service Medal, Legion of Merit with 1 Bronze Oak Leaf, Bronze Star Medal with Bronze Oak Leaf, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Army Meritorious Service Medal with 1 Silver Oak Leaf and 1 Bronze Oak Leaf, Army Commendation Medal, Army and Joint Service Achievement Medals, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal with Bronze Star Device, Joint Meritorious, that's a tongue twister. Meritorious, thank you, sir. It's been a long day. Unit Award, 2nd Oak Leaf Cluster, Navy Meritorious Unit Commendation, Defense Unit Special Forces Tab, Ranger Tab, Combat Infantryman Badge, Expert Infantryman Badge, and Master Parachutist Badge. Whereas Brigadier General Hector E. Pagan is joined by family, friends, colleagues, and all of the elected officials at the City Council meeting on November 17, 2010, where he is being honored. It is now therefore I, Stephen C. Bateman, the Mayor of the City of Homestead, Florida, do hereby proclaim November 17, 2010, Brigadier General Hector E. Pagan Day. And that goes for all of us here on the council, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, great people of Homestead. Ellie and I have had the honor of living among you for the last 2.5 years. And it's going to be hard to leave in January when we depart Homestead. We have been welcomed by this community. We have been embraced by this community. So besides being grateful for this honor tonight, I want to be grateful as well for the great friendship and support, not only for my family, but for the military families who make Homestead home. And those people live among you, and these are folks who every day get up and go to work to do great things to support our nation, and they make Homestead home. I'm very proud of them, and I would venture to guess that so are you. So again, Mr. Mayor, thank you for this great honor. John, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, and I will never forget you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next presentation is Homestead Hospital's 70th anniversary presentation. Vice Mayor Wallman.
First of all, I promise you, hopefully we will have air conditioning at our next council meeting, because we haven't had it now in, 3 meetings? It's been terrible, so I'm going to publicly apologize for that. This is a very great honor for me. Just let me say this. The Homestead Hospital has been near and dear to my heart for many, many years. My mother has been a volunteer. Come on up, guys. Phyllis and Wayne. My mother has been a volunteer. She's a pink lady, which now all the little pink ladies are upset because all their little uniforms are coral instead of pink. But she's been a pink lady, I think, what, Bill, 30 years? 30 years? And I've been a fundraiser and a volunteer for the hospital as well in my own way. I remember when Bo started, and so I've been around for a long, long time. So on that note, I'd like to say that we are very fortunate to have Homestead Hospital, a state-of-the-art full-service hospital with 142 beds in our community. In honor of Homestead Hospital's 70th birthday, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Bill Duquette. Bill's like a brother to me. He really is a truly good man. Chief Executive Officer, Homestead Hospital. He has 30 years experience in healthcare and leads a team of 1,200 employees, 400 physicians, and 100 volunteers at Homestead Hospital. Prior to being selected as CEO in 2006, he has served in various administrative positions throughout his 19-year tenure with Homestead Hospital. And Dr. Wayne Bracken, Chief Operating Officer. He is he's Chief Operating Officer of Baptist Health, South Florida, and former CEO of South Miami and Homestead Hospitals. As COO, I hope that's right, maybe CEO, Dr. Bracken has responsibility for all 5 Baptist, excuse me, all 5 Baptist Health South hospitals and all Baptist outpatient centers. Mr. Bo Bollinger, you still use those Bo Bucks?
I don't know.
At the Homestead Hospital, for incentives to employees at different things that we would have, he'd offer what we nicknamed Bo Bucks. You know, it was really fake money, but he would offer them, and we were thrilled to get them. We could get a free soda at the cafeteria. Bo has really come a long way. He's our Chief Executive Officer at Baptist Hospital and former CEO of Homestead Hospital. Bo has 25 years experience in healthcare administration. He was awarded the 2008 Ultimate CEO by the South Florida Business Journal's editorial department for vision, innovation, and integrity. Congratulations. And my friend Phyllis, beautiful Phyllis Oders. I first met Phyllis when we were introduced, when we had exactly 5 weeks to put on an event called Second Win in 2002. And we had 5 weeks to raise $130,000 and 5 weeks to host every major news station. I mean, we had Al Roker in Rosner Park. We had just all kinds of things, and Phyllis stepped in with the Red Cross and really bailed me out. Excuse me, we all have sore throats up the dais, so I apologize. She is the Corporate Vice President of Government and Community Relations, Baptist Health, and she is responsible for strategic planning of government and community relations, developing the state and federal legislative agenda to include issues of health care funding, insurance regulation, and general health policy development. So it's with great pleasure tonight. Do I have the proclamation? Oh, right in front of me. Okay, it's with great pleasure tonight, I'm going to try to get through this without coughing, that I give you a proclamation. Whereas Homestead Hospital opened on August 9th, 1940 at 160 Northwest 13th Street. It was built with U.S. Works Progress Administration funds on land donated by J.D. Red, sound familiar? J.D. Red Park, a 1-acre tract just west of Chrome Avenue. And whereas Homestead Hospital today is a modern full-service 142-bed facility located at Campbell Drive and 147th Avenue. The new $135 million hospital opened in May 2007, replacing the original facility. And whereas Homestead Hospital's comprehensive health care services include acute inpatient care, critical care, outpatient diagnosis, 24-hour emergency, pediatrics, the birthing suites, inpatient and outpatient surgery, endoscopy, laboratory, and rehabilitation. I think I've been in each one of those departments over the years. The hospital's unique features include a 24-hour children's emergency center, and whereas Homestead Hospital is one of the largest employers in South Miami-Dade with nearly 1,200 employees, and celebrated the hospital's 70th birthday on August 9th. excuse me, 2010. And whereas Homestead Hospital's medical staff is made up of more than 400 physicians who represent more than 30 specialties, ranging from cardiology, neurology, and urology. And whereas representatives of Homestead Hospital and Baptist Health South Florida are being honored at a city council meeting on November 17, 2010. Now therefore, Stephen Bateman, the mayor of the city of Homestead, hereby proclaims November 17, 2010 as Homestead Hospital Day in Homestead. Congratulations. I have another present. I come bearing gifts today. I wanted to have something special because I knew that we had the Baptist and we had Homestead. So I just figured this way, one could have one and one could have the other. You have to fight over which one it is. But this is from me. With sincere appreciation to the Homestead Hospital for extraordinary service to the Homestead community and in honor of the hospital's 70th anniversary, the City of Homestead salutes you. November 2010, and it's inscribed with Mayor Stephen C. Bateman, Vice Mayor Judy Waldman, Councilman John Burgess, Councilwoman Wendy Lobos, Councilman Elvis Maldonado, Councilman Stephen Shelley, and Councilman Jimmy Williams III. So it's my great honor and pleasure to present this to you. And you all know how much I love you and how much I am devoted to what you do and the people you serve every single day. So congratulations. Thank you.
Okay. All right, real quick. Well, thanks so much. It's been so long since when I first came here, it was James Archer Smith Hospital, and it was DeMillie and Muxo up on the dais, and my kid who was born at the hospital is now 18 years old. So it's been a while, but we now say in Baptist Health, in order to get anywhere in the organization, you have to come through Homestead. And we're the living proof of that. But it's been a wonderful experience. We just love the community, love being here, and we want to say thank you so much. And I would be remiss to say that to miss the opportunity. There's actually two people in the audience who were with us at the time that South Miami and then later Baptist became involved, and that's the former CEO at South Miami, and also the former Vice President of Planning at the time. Was Merrill Cruz and Bill Enright. I want to recognize them as well. But thank you all very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know, hospital administrators are like preachers, and so we're never going to miss an opportunity at the mic. We're going in chronological order. And I'm very glad that Mr. Bracken recognized Bill and Merrill for their service as well. I had the pleasure of spending 14 years at Homestead Hospital, and members of the council, Vice Mayor Waldman, Mayor Bateman, you know, we're just among very, very close friends. You know, when James Archer Smith originally conceptualized having a hospital in 1940 in Homestead, he was way ahead of his time. Baptist Hospital and South Miami Hospital hadn't even been conceptualized yet. And the hospital at 70 years old is the oldest hospital in all of Baptist health systems, and we've had this very, very close relationship with the city. We so much appreciate the support of the council, the members of the staff of the city, and the citizens, of course, through 70 years have supported the hospital through thick and thin. We're all family, we're all in this together, and as Bill will tell you, the hospital is going to be here for a long time going forward in the future, and it's our pleasure to serve you with compassion and an excellence in health care. We're absolutely committed to it. We've got a wonderful group of volunteers like Judy and medical staff members and 1,200 employees that most of them live down in South Dade, and it is just absolutely our pleasure to care for everybody in the community. Thank you.
I'll just add a couple of cents here. You know, in the late 30s, 1930s, a group of enlightened city of Homestead residents got together and had a couple of potluck dinners and got enough money, about $12,000, to build the new facility, the first facility, in August of 1940. So, you know, we're the second oldest hospital in the county, and as Bo indicated and Wayne indicated, I don't know if you guys realize what a great gem of an institution we have here. Extremely high quality. You can go on any of the government websites and compare us to other hospitals in the county or in the state or in the U.S. And we are at the top. Baptist Health is at the top, and for many things, Homestead is at the top of Baptist Health. So we're very proud to be here. We're going to be here for the next 70 years and then some. So thank you, guys. Thanks, Judy.
While they walk back to their seat, I have to tell you that people laugh at my husband and I because they often see us sitting in the cafeteria at the hospital, because I'm going to tell you what, they have some really good food. Have really good food, and they have the best quesadillas I think I've ever had. So thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, is it okay if I go forward?
Oh, please.
Okay.
Floor's yours.
Okay. I'd like to ask Maria Garza to come forward. Where's Maria? There she is. And I know your family's here, so if Zip or any of your sons, they're way in the back. I'd love to have you come forward so we can get a family picture as they make their way to the front. Maria Garza, she's my friend, so this is very easy for me. She's one of the most beautiful people, not only outside, but inside. She has a true heart, and she shows her heart through all kinds of community service. I've always known and called Maria a mover and a shaker in our community, and I'm pleased to announce that she recently received, and this is big, folks, she recently received the Distinguished Award of 100 Latinos in Miami. And it's a beautiful book where they picked 100 Latinos to represent all of Miami. And I'm going to hold this up. Here's her picture. Can you see it?
Very nice.
And I will say that the award not only recognizes Maria, but they recognize people who have proven their excellence in their professions. And the winners of this award were chosen by a 10-member committee, and on that committee, one of the names you might recall is Miami Mayor Maurice Ferrer. Maria shares this award with many distinguished persons, including Gloria Estevan and Romero Brito. Maria is well known for her passion to help the migrant farming community and is recognized as a leader and advocate of farm workers. Maria is the president of the Mexican American Council and president of the South 8 Skills Center. She's just a wonderful person, and we've shared community service together, and we have a project ongoing. And Maria, I'd like to bring you forward. And this is her beautiful son, Eddie Garza, who I always say will be president of the United States one day.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor, Mayor, members of the council, and good evening to all of you residents of Florida and the South 8 community, Homestead. Judy, thank you so much for recognizing my humble accomplishments or commitment, really, to the community. Often we come here as citizens because we feel that we have something to say, that hopefully our commitment to a better community really can make a difference. And we know that democracy is fragile. Everywhere we looked around our nation, and other nations as well, we see that community involvement is paramount. We need to continue doing, whether people agree with us or not, it's irrelevant. As long as God tells you that it's okay to stand up and say something, you must always stand for that you strongly believe in. And if you feel that God gives you the okay in your prayers, I guess, then more power to you to go ahead and do it. But this recognition is a humble one, I had no idea that I was being considered when they told me that 100 Latinos in Miami. It is really a group from Spain that is engaging in this endeavor here in Florida, and they picked Miami as the first city to recognize individuals that make a difference in one way or another. Obviously, I'm not like Gloria Estefan or Romero Brito or any of the other ones, but nonetheless, somebody felt that by me picketing often and standing up and making some individuals uncomfortable was important enough, and sometimes I often make them comfortable as well, so God is good. But thank you so much, Judy, for giving me this recognition, for acknowledging this special thing. Thank you so much.
I'd like to present Maria with this beautiful plaque with sincere appreciation to Maria Garza for extraordinary service as an advocate for the Latin community in honor of your distinguished award, 100 Latinos in Miami. The City of Homestead salutes you.
I just have to say why this is much more meaningful with my son Eddie, my husband in the back. Because today, I sat with a group of 5 farm workers, and we were putting together bunches of beans, green beans, for an event that we have tomorrow, and we hope to be honored with your presence, all of you. And I was just telling them that I grew up as a migrant farm worker, how for 11 years of my life, I harvest many crops and went all over the United States, and what a privilege that was, because I got to see an awesome nation. Maybe from a different glass, from a different lens, but it was still nonetheless an awesome, great country, and I was so proud of doing that. So thank you for recognizing me today for this special thing.
You're so deserving, Maria, and you're such an inspiration to so many people, including me. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, moving right along. I know this presentation has been given once, and I felt compelled to bring it back because this individual served on the city council. And the night that we presented it, shortly after his death, his family members were not able to make it, and I knew very little about the individual. So I reached out to the community, and I contacted our former mayor, Fred Rhodes, who served 16 years on the city council. And Fred knew Colonel Charles Glenn very well, and I'd like for Fred Rhodes to come up now and say a few words about a former councilman and long time citizen. I think it's very appropriate, and then I'll give you the plaque that we have for him. Fred Rhodes.
I served on the city council with Charlie Glenn, who passed away this past year. He was born February the 25th, 1916. I was born February the 25th, 1926. 10 years later. I was a friend of the Glenn family my whole life. His father was in charge of the sewage and water treatment plant in Homestead. He knew where every sewer line was in his city. He knew where every water line was in his city. Tonight, I want to pay respects to Charles Glenn. He served on the city council here for 8 years. He was a graduate from Homestead High School in 1935. After he graduated, he joined the Field Artillery Army, U.S. Army. He served 2 years as an officer in the Field Artillery Battalion out of Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Then the war started. He joined the Air Force. He was a pilot for a lot of generals. After the war ended, he flew generals to Japan. He flew generals from Washington, D.C. to Germany. He was a real good soldier. He was a real honorable person. He's one of the finest men I ever served with on the city council of Homestead. Tonight, I want to introduce his son to me, Eddie Glenn. He's in a wheelchair. His wife with him is hot. have two sons. One's in college in west coast of Florida, and one was working tonight, so he couldn't be here. Can you take it down? Eddie said a few things.
Yeah, we don't have a portable mic? She said she'd rather not. What I'd like to do is, in honor of your father, is present you with this certificate of appreciation to Lieutenant Colonel Charles S. Glenn for his leadership and many years of dedication to the city of Homestead. The city of Homestead salutes Lieutenant Colonel Charles S. Glenn. And thank you so much for coming tonight to receive this certificate.
I want to thank the mayor and the city council, all of you. I think you're doing a good job. Just keep up the good work.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you so much, Fred. And quickly, I'd like to recognize Homestead Alano. Homestead Alano Incorporated is an organization formed to help the Alcohol Anonymous group of Homestead. They came to visit me several months ago, and I wanted them to come forward and be heard and be known here in Homestead. They really didn't come asking for anything other than just to acknowledge their service here to Homestead. But tonight, it's not a lot, but I offered out of my little account that I have here a check for $250, maybe to help start things going for you.
On behalf of the Alano Club, I would really like to thank you for your very, very generous donation. Alano first formed about a year or so ago, and we are people of members of Alcoholics Anonymous, friends, family members, and just general members of the public who maybe know alcoholics. We are a non-profit organization, and in case, for those of you who do not know, the Homestead group itself of Alcoholic Anonymous has been around Homestead for 60 years. During that length of time, it has helped men and women and family members get their lives back. And Alano formed to help them because of what they are not allowed to do any fundraising, they're not allowed to have any grants or any donations except through their own contributions. Of course, with the economic situation that is happening all over, this group of people are in trouble. And as of a meeting that was held just last night, the premises that they are currently in, as of February 1st, they may have to move. But the problem is where to. So we're just very, very new. Rachel and myself just decided to stop by and have a very, very nice conversation with the mayor. Just to let everybody know, we're reaching out to the community. They cannot do it themselves, so we're going to do it for them. And just to let the community of Homestead know the wonderful service that is provided for those people who suffer from this disease. So thank you very, very much, and hopefully you'll get to meet us again. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Mayor Bateman? Mayor
Yes,
Bateman?
please.
You might want to call Bill Duquette at the Homestead Hospital. You know, they might have an empty room there or someplace. It's an everyday meeting place, correct? One time a day? No, 5. 5 times a day. We'll call him and see what they have. Then you never know.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. Is Trinity Faith Tabernacle here tonight? Will you please come forward? Pastor McCoy and his wife, Vasilia McCoy, and Mr. Travis Smith. How are you tonight? Good to see you. How are you, sir? Yes, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Bateman, Vice Mayor, and also councilmen, and also the residents and citizens of the city of Homestead. We're from Trinity Faith Tabernacle, which is a church here in Homestead that's been around for over 50 years. This past October, we hosted our first annual fall festival event, and which our goal was, we had a plan, and what we wanted to do was invite every family member and kid in the Southwest to our church for an evening of fun, activities, games, and of course all that takes money to do. And we came to these two gentlemen who didn't hesitate not one time to support us. Of course, we had a plan, and our plan couldn't have taken off without the help and the support of these two gentlemen. They made their schedules clear for us. We came to them, we told them what our plan was, and they backed us up 100%. They didn't exchange words with us. And tonight we want to recognize those two gentlemen who really made our event successful. We had over 1,000 toys donated to this event. We had so many different sponsors help us, First National Bank of Homestead, Walmart, BJ's, and different organizations. But these two gentlemen really stood out, and that's Mayor Steve Bateman, and we would like to present you with this award. And it says, with great appreciation to Mayor Steve Bateman for your donation and support in the Southwest Fall Festival at Trinity Faith Tabernacle Deliverance Center, Homestead, Florida, October 31st, 2010. And also one more person who's really been a great champion to me in the Southwest so far, that's Councilman Jimmy L. Wims III. And it also reads, great appreciation to Councilman Jimmy Wims for your donation and support in the Southwest Fall Festival at Trinity Faith Tabernacle Deliverance Center, Homestead, Florida, October 31st, 2010. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to know you.
I'm sure many of you guys, when you came in here, noticed these beautiful photographs that are surrounding the council chambers tonight. These photographs are part of a new program that's being implemented by the City of Homestead that's going to allow professional artists a venue to display their artwork to the public, as well as beautify the council chambers. This program is available. Anybody that's interested in participating can contact the public information officer, and they can get you more information on participating in this program. The first artist who is participating is Mr. Robert Chaplin of Robert L. Chaplin Photography. Mr. Chaplin, in addition to doing the photographs, also does workshops in which he puts on for local people to learn about photography, and then if you're really adventurous, he'll take you out walking through the swamp, walking through the sawgrass, and really experience the Everglades and nature and get that perfect shot. So with that, I'd like to invite Mr. Robert Chaplin up to say a little information about his work, about his workshops. And as he's walking up, another thing I'd like to note or kind of embarrass him about is I believe he's the current reigning Rotarian of the Year for the local Homestead Rotary Club. So in addition to doing photography, he also does a lot of work in the local community. So with that, go ahead, Mr. Chaplin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, City Manager. I appreciate the opportunity to display my photographic art in this venue. This is my very first exhibit. I've never done one of these before. I've been teaching workshops for about 2 years, and my workshops take us, like Councilman Shelley was saying, into the Everglades. I get our feet wet. It's an Everglades experience workshop. And then I decided to take it another level and go with fine art. And he brought up Rotary, so I'm going to do a plug here. 2 pieces of my fine art will be sold at the Rotary auction on February 4th. So y'all come on out, see a Rotarian, get some tickets, come on out, and they'll be sold there, and probably pick one up for a good price. But this was just a fantastic opportunity. I was born and raised in South Florida. I grew up down here. I grew up in the Everglades. My dad used to take me fishing out there, and I love it, and I want to take people back to it. The Everglades is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and in July of this year, it was listed as a World Heritage in danger because of the water flows and other problems we've had with hurricanes and things like that. Most people come out and don't go into the Everglades. They'll drive through it, and then they'll drive back out of it, maybe hitting a few things. So my goal is to immerse people in the Everglades and in the swamp. And what I tried to do with this exhibit is show the diversity of the Everglades. We have endangered species of a ghost orchid out there. I think that swallowtail butterfly is our butterfly of Florida. And of course the alligators. Now this is photography anybody can do. I could teach people to do this and shoot. Matter of fact, one of these pictures is done with a point and shoot camera. So this was a great opportunity, and I really do appreciate it. And I've actually seen some people who showed up at my classes that we do at the Redland Hotel. And that's where I base out of, is the Redland Hotel. When my clients come in, we put them up there, and then we run them out to the Everglades. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
But before you sit down, do you want to give out any website or any contact information in case anybody would like to hang a beautiful piece of art in their office or home?
Yes, and I do have a website. It's under construction. On the back table are some business cards and some postcard-sized cards. Call me if you're interested in a piece of art, and it'll officially start going up for sale January 1st. Everything should be done by then. You can go to the website and purchase it through the website, or contact me off of one of those cards. Give me a phone call, and I'd be happy to print something out for you. My goal is to see nature soothes us. It relaxes us, and I want to get people to either go out into it or bring it into their homes so we're a lot less stressed out. So my goal is to get nature into people's homes. So give me a call, send me an email, and then keep an eye on the website. January 1st, we should be 100% up and running and be able to purchase from it. So thank you again very much.
A couple questions. Vice Mayor.
This man is the best teacher, and my husband adores you and your work. My husband's hobby is photography, as you know, because we are students of yours. And I was a nervous wreck going into his class because I thought, oh no, everybody's going to know everything. But he actually, on break time, would come over and help me. And you know what? I've mastered that little camera a little bit.
Have you really?
So
yeah, she has a little point and shoot, as it calls a touch screen or something yes.
And he was wonderful, and I can't wait to your next one. You need to have more. He's the best teacher in the whole world.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you very much.
The next item on the agenda is the charter school ground lease, and we want to get through this in a fairly timely manner. Fairly timely manner. So what we'd like to do is actually, I'd like to have a motion to move it on the floor. This shows mine before it. That's why I'm taking it out of order.
Did you want to take it out of turn?
That's what it says.
Okay, yeah, so it needs a motion to take it out of turn, is what he's asking for.
Well, actually, it came on my agenda already out of turn. If you'll look at the agenda. But it doesn't matter, the consent agenda will take no time. Move to the consent agenda. Do we have any questions on the consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, got a motion to move it and second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's move back to charter school ground lease. So if we can move through this fairly quickly, we'd appreciate to each of us pay respect, the proper respect to each other as we we give our opinions, and one way or the other, we will vote this up or down tonight. So with that said, a motion to move this forward, move it on the floor?
Mr. Mayor, let me read the title.
Okay, go ahead.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the ground lease agreement between the City of Homestead and Red Apple Development LLC, authorizing the execution of the ground lease agreement, providing for an effective date.
Okay, motion?
Make the motion, Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, staff report? I want to just make a comment before staff report. Is about 3 weeks ago, this council asked Councilman Maldonado and our city attorney to sit down with Charter School USA and Jonathan and come up with what we thought were some appropriate terms and appropriate lease. And I know from the memo that I read on November 9th that it looked like that they had done an outstanding job without saying in the least. I know that Richard Weiss and I have been over it and over it and over it, and I think that both of you, I want to commend both of you now for doing a yeoman's job. I know you spent many hours on it, Richard, Mr. Maldonado. I know that you spent many hours out of your day working on this, and I think that you've done a great job from what I see on the outline. With that said, I'd like to move to staff report at this time.
Okay, did you want me to go through the terms, and how much detail do you want?
Well, that's up to council. We'll turn to council and ask what you might want. I personally am very content with what I read, so I'm going to open it to the council floor instead of you reading it line by line.
I have some questions.
Sure, please, Vice Mayor.
I have some questions. I don't know who would be answering the questions. I probably direct
If there are
them.
questions about what the lease currently says, I'll answer them. If there are
Okay.
questions about what they intend or those kind of things, and then it should be answered by the operator.
All right, these are for the operator then, because I understand what was given to me. But as you can see, it took hours and hours and hours and hours to study and to go through line by line what I have, and I too want to thank the city attorney. And I mean, he worked. I got an email from him at 12:30 in the morning. He was still working, and I really appreciate everything you've done, Richard, very much. First thing, who would like to answer for the operators?
I will, Vice Mayor John Hage, President of Charter Schools USA.
Okay. When we talked about the school before, it was my suggestion that, and when the military, we were having a problem back and forth, and at that time I was working with Colonel McCauley, and it was my suggestion that we do a disclosure, and then today I received something from the Air Base asking, where's Colonel Anderson, asking that the language be just bumped up a little bit. And would you have any problem with that?
No, we would be fine with that.
Is that good with you, Colonel Anderson? Okay, because that was very important to me.
Education system.
Do you want to say something? Okay. Are you okay with that?
We are. We're good with that language. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I was also concerned.
Madam Vice Mayor, just to keep just some structure to this, if you wanted to make a motion to amend the lease to include that language.
Can I just go through here? Maybe there'll be more.
Sure. If you want to.
Probably he won't like that, but maybe there'll be more that we can amend at the same time. When I read well, we had the lease, and then we had the, as I call it, my cheat sheet, where we condensed it, and there was a term in there. It says the initial term of the lease is 35 years, and the lessee, which is you, and the lessor, which is us, has the option to extend the term for 15 additional years. Now, many of you know that I've been in real estate for 35 years, so I mean, let me tell you something. These are not easy. These are not easy. Business leases take a lot of time, and they take a lot of time to read and to understand. But I would like a little more language in there and not leave it just up to you to extend for 15 years. I'd like for the city to have a little say. I mean, I won't be here in 35 years. Hopefully I'll be on Earth, but I won't be here in 35 years. But let me just say this, that we as a council owe a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of this city, and we have to ask these tough questions, and if we can't come to terms now without a workshop, then we need to just go on and move forward, and that's what I'm trying to do here tonight. The council that was seated in the 90s are still taking flack over the contract with the racetrack. So we have to make sure that any long-term leases are done in a very, very structured and precise way. So is there any way that we could add some language to give the seated council in 35 years, grandchildren, I don't know, John, maybe little John will be up here, but to give them some leeway as to have some say?
Yes, ma'am. So per that discussion that you and I had previously, I think that we would be willing to amend the lease to allow for an option for the city to exercise, along with our option, that if you didn't want to go the additional 15 years at the end of the 35, that we would both, choose appraisers, maybe have a third appraiser that both sides chooses, so it's fully independent. And based on that amount, then the city would have the right to go ahead and purchase the building at that time, or they would let us have the option and continue for the 15 years. And at the end of that 15 years, you would in fact own the building 100%, fully paid for by the charter school.
Okay, so that language can be put into the body, Richard? That language could be added?
Yes.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yes, ma'am, and we have provided that language to your attorney.
Okay, I have a couple more things. Excuse me. As you all know, we have a pink elephant sitting out there on that land, and that's the baseball stadium. But we are very, very near. We have several parties who are very interested in some sort of partnership with the city regarding the baseball stadium, and I'm very concerned because I don't want you to get in the way of this city moving forward with that baseball stadium. So I threw it back in their lap today, and I said, you need to come up with something. So what have you come up with?
We'd like to offer new language to add to the contract that would say, in the event that the city transfers operational control of the baseball parcel to third parties, the leasee, us, shall cooperate with those third parties on the utilization of the baseball parcel under reasonable terms and conditions.
I've not heard their answers yet, so could I ask you to read that again? Because we're having a hard time hearing anyway up here.
I apologize.
It's not your fault, it's the air conditioner's fault, but we can't live without it.
Yes, ma'am. We would offer to add to the lease language generally of the following. In the event that the city transfers operational control of the baseball parcel to a third party, the lessee shall cooperate with those third parties on the utilization of the baseball parcel under reasonable terms and conditions.
Is that okay with you, Richard?
I don't really know what that means.
That's why we love him.
The general idea is that we would fully cooperate with a third-party operator.
Okie dokie.
Okay?
That's what I
And
want
I
to
would
hear.
suggest, and I think I've had a brief discussion with the city attorney about this possibility, and while the exact verbiage, I trust we have a good enough working relationship with your city attorney and our firms do, and Richard and I worked through this document, and so I trust that we can get to the wording, not right here in a public setting, because it makes for bad terms for everybody. So we'd crystallize something that would say that we would agree, the lessee would agree to fully cooperate with the third party in the event the city transferred the control of the baseball parcel to a third party.
Now I understand.
Okay. Another thing that I'm concerned about is a building that we may own in 35 years, or that we may agree to enter into an agreement to let who's ever operating the school at that time to extend it. I have a real problem with inspections, because even though you say in the agreement that you will do required maintenance and upkeep the building, I want proof that you're going to do that. So I would like to add to that we have a yearly inspection. Of course, Tom Lambert is here today, but a yearly inspection through Sergio's office of the property itself, and then have timely inspections, whatever deemed necessary, roof, termite, plumbing, because let's face it, these are the problems that we have when cities inherit antiquated buildings, and they're out of date and out of style, and I just want to make sure that those things are kept up.
Yes, and
it's nothing personal.
yes, we understand and we agree and would agree to that being added to the lease. Yes, ma'am.
Let me just go through my notes real quick. Sorry, Mayor. And I will relinquish the floor in just a second. Okay. I think that I've answered my major questions. The other things I hope that we can work out as we go along.
Yes, ma'am.
But it's very important, that I think this whole council has always said we're 100% in support of education in schools, but we have a fiduciary responsibility. This is the business side of it. Now, I'm not even getting into all this other stuff with, the things that you have to apply with developmental services and another school that's come up on the issue. But whatever we do tonight, I hope that we give full support to the others. If there is another school, I hope we give full support and help them as much as we're trying to help you. And I want to put that on the record. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor.
Did you want to move those 4 amendments?
That's what I would like to, yes.
Needs a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman.
I'm sorry, discussion?
Do we have discussion on those?
I think,
I'd like to discuss
language
before
Do you want to discuss on this?
Yeah. Just on the amendment?
If I, Madam, Mr. Mayor?
I just wanted some clarification on this particular motion, I guess, to amend the prior motion, or the 15 years, I had similar concerns. And so as I understand it, there'll be an option to purchase, or if not, then it'll go forward as set. My biggest concern was, one, I wanted the option as well for the city to have a say in whether they wanted to renew it or not. Number two, I had some concern that it was already a set price. 35 years in the future, maybe there's a different price that's better for us than the city, so to limit us to a set price now. Now, I know we had a conversation about it in which you explained your reasoning, and I understand that, but I still have a concern about having a set purchase price that's 35 years into the future. So that's something I would want to maybe address as part of this motion. The other thing, dealing with the right of first refusal, I assume, for this third party to come in and purchase the baseball stadium or lease the baseball stadium or whatever they end up doing. Based on your representation, that you want the language to say that they'll fully cooperate with a third party, that you would fully cooperate with the third party. I still don't know what that means. Does that mean that you intend that the new operator, if there is one, is going to allow you use of that stadium and that's a condition? Or is that saying that if they come in and want to do something completely different, you're okay? Or I mean, that's what I'm confused at, because it could be interpreted that you're saying that they are going to let you use it, which may be great, but I don't want to hinder, again, our ability to market this stadium because it's got restrictions on it.
So if you'd like me to address the last one first, perhaps, Councilman. The idea was proffered to us, obviously, about the fact that the RFP that went on the street is gaining some momentum, that in fact there is some real interest in the baseball stadium. If that reality comes to be, then we need to address it now in the lease versus down the line. We're willing to accept any language that would represent the intent of the commission to work with those folks to ensure collaborative uses. We obviously would like, and I think we have it in the lease, limited use for the high school for specific times. I think it's not a lot. I don't know if it was maybe 8 or 10 times, but at baseball games primarily, assuming that the stadium met health and safety requirements for the school, quite frankly. But otherwise, the idea was to ensure, for example, parking use, the idea of collaborating. Both of the uses that have been put forward to the city, we've looked at their proposals. They are in non-school hours. They're in evenings and weekends. They actually work very well with the school. So when the school's in, their uses out and vice versa. So I think it just ensures that we're good neighbors and that we ensure that we are articulating in the document as well as in person to you that we're going to continue to be good citizens as a public charter school, which of course it's in our interest to do, but to articulate that would be important.
Sure.
And just, again, I have a little bit of concern with that. I'm okay with, I guess, the idea here. I want to make sure that we don't bind ourselves, because these two proposals that have come forward may be good for us, may be bad for us. We may go with them, we may not go with them. I don't know. That's in the future to discuss. But we may have somebody else that wants to come in and purchase or lease the stadium that doesn't want it to be a baseball stadium. Maybe they want to turn, I don't know. And so I don't want there to be a handicap for us. Now, in the end, I hope that it all works out and that everyone works together, but that's my only concern. I don't want there to be something in this lease that kills the marketability of that stadium. We have enough hard time as it is to get rid of it.
Councilman Shelley, if I could make a suggestion
sure.
to you, just in terms of the conversation, and again, I'm not trying to insert myself into the conversation, but I am. If you have questions about what's in the lease as drafted, my suggestion is that you ask me. And that if you have questions about the operations or what they intend, that's I would suggest you ask them. But I can tell you what's in the lease, which I think is important as opposed to the conversation about what's in the lease. So what's your question about what's currently in the lease?
Well, it's not what's currently in the lease, but this motion was based on representation. There's a motion that's included that has this representation they made, not currently in the lease. So that's my concern. If we pass that motion, that representation then gets memorialized if we pass it, if it goes through, and then what does that really mean? And then we're back arguing.
Let me tell you what's in the lease, because I think it will help you in this, in dealing with that issue.
Okay.
Okay, the first thing is that it says, dealing with the baseball parcel. First thing it says is, as long as the city owns the baseball parcel, the city will cooperate with the school to facilitate high school events in the baseball stadium under reasonable terms and conditions. So that as long as we are in control of the baseball stadium, they come to us, they say we want to hold a high school baseball game or something there, we'll have a form agreement that we might charge them some small amount of money, whatever it is. So that's the first part. The second thing is it says that if the city contemplates using the baseball parcel, either itself or by third parties, for something else, that it will meet with them to discuss the traffic impacts of those other uses. After that, we're free to do whatever we want, but we have to have a discussion. And the third thing it says about the baseball parcel is what's called a right of first offer, which you and I have discussed. But it basically says that if we decide to solicit offers to sell or lease the baseball stadium, that we're going to go to them first. And we're going to say, would you like to make an offer to sell or lease to buy or lease the baseball stadium? And they have a right to make an offer to us. And then the city has the ability to accept the offer or to go out for an RFP to see what's out there. The city can only, if they get a response, the city cannot accept a monetary offer unless it's 10% more than what they've offered. And then I put in a clause that dealt with sort of non-monetary things, so that if somebody proposes something that is attractive to the community, but for instance, let's say a program for minority kids or something like that you wanted to encourage, we would go back to them and we would say, are you willing to do that kind of a program? And if they're not willing to do that kind of a program, then the city still has the ability to go to a third party. I think what's being added is one more phrase with the amendment that's on the floor, is to add something that says that so long as they are, if we transfer ownership of the property to someone else, that they will cooperate with the third party in sort of coordinating activities between the baseball stadium and the school. That's what's being, I think, proposal is being added.
Okay. I mean, I kind of agree with it the way you propose it. Again, as long as it's not binding us to say that the third party coming in is guaranteed a use of that stadium. That's not.
It does not say that.
Yeah,
it will not say that. That's not the intention of the way I understand the amendment.
And the only other concern I would raise, because this was something else I was going to raise before the motion, on the right of first refusal. Again, I don't want to get into a situation where we have something good for the city, and they come in and make a proposal only because they want to stop it to preserve their use of the stadium in the future, because they want to use it for high school events, which again is a good use for it. I just want to make sure that, again, all our options are open. So that was, and I expressed a concern, we discussed it on the phone, it still is a concern because I see no safeguards. You come in and match the offer, then take control of the stadium, and it was something other than monetary offer, and you don't perform what the other people would have performed because you want to use it as a high school stadium. So that's just a concern that I had, and I wanted to raise it. I don't know that there's a solution, but I wanted to make sure I did at least raise it.
Thank you, Council.
Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Let me ask Richard, in all due respect to Vice Mayor, on your amendments, making them a motion, because I have several concerns as well. In my personal opinion, I think with what some of my colleagues have already raised, that we're not going to get to some point kind of tonight, and because we just got this lease yesterday, and we're asking to be voted upon right now. And we've got to really have some time and some real dialogue about it. I don't think that this is the appropriate time to do that. And I think that in respect to my colleague, Vice Mayor Waldman, I think with all of the issues that is pertaining to the lease, from the state issue to from the military concern, I really think that we need to hammer this out in a workshop in order that we might all understand it together. Because I think tonight trying to vote on this and make sure that everything is in here that should be in here, it kind of, I feel like we're rushing the process. And Madam Vice Mayor, in your comment, I heard you say, you know, something about a workshop that you didn't think that we would probably have the time, or correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, I think with these 75-page documents that we're being forced to vote on tonight in the best interest of the city, I don't believe it's healthy to do that. And so if you can, I don't know if this is procedurally right, Richard, because she's already offered a motion and a second.
Pardon?
She's already offered amendment of a motion.
She has.
Would it be in order, if she would do it, to withdraw her motion, and I'll make a motion to take this to a workshop, because for the simple fact, two reasons. Number one, I'm not comfortable voting on it right now. That's number one. Number two, there's some other issues with the concurrent of traffic studies that needs to be done, and the other issue of the baseball stadium. And I really think we need to hash this out in a different setting, that we can all really sit down and really put this forward in the right perspective and take our time with this lease.
Mayor?
Can I answer?
Mayor?
I think we've had it since the 9th. Yes, Mr. Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for the record, here where Councilman Williams is mentioning that a majority of the board, or I'm not sure, and I want to clarify that. It's not my intention to have any more workshops. I've spent some time on this already, and I think we've worked out a lot. Just for the record, that's not my concern. Make sure, I would hope every council person would state their position on this for the record. Thank you.
May I answer?
Yes, go ahead.
You know, I was very honest with Mr. Hague today when I spoke to him, and I was pretty harsh with him today, that I wanted more discussion, and so we went ahead and we took the hour and a half to answer my questions and talk about a few things. I think it's important, Mr. Hague, that you tell them what you told me about your time limit and how you, you know, you're under a time restraint, a serious time restraint. So, and again, there's still other things in here that, you know, that we talked about that I don't think need to be amended, that we can work through and we can do, but the major issues, I'm satisfied as far as the developmental service issues with the traffic studies and all of that. That's going to all, Sergio, look at me. That's all going to come forth anyway, correct? That has to be brought forth and passed by,
Yes, ma'am. You will be seeing a notice of proposed change forthcoming along with the site plan.
so all of those things have to still be, this isn't a home free, and I don't want any of you to think that it is, because it all has to come before,
Through the planning and zoning
Yeah.
process, yes. And then back to the CA.
Thank you.
So could you answer that?
Yes, ma'am, Vice Mayor. Our process, I think, has tried to emulate in the public in an open forum the willingness to negotiate in many ways with 7 people at once, which you can imagine, standing in my shoes, is difficult. But I do appreciate that the council at the last meeting, after several hours of additional discussion, after several meetings since the Phase 1, which also anticipated Phase 2, and with the long-term commitment of over 5 years of these discussions, that in fact the leadership decided to put your education chair and your city attorney in a position to negotiate some of those finer details. My attorney and myself did show up, and we spent a good part of it, almost, I'd say, half a day with Mr. Weiss and his associate and Mr. Maldonado. And I went in to those negotiations with a lot less than went in with a lot more than I came out with. So I can say that if you look at the terms of the deal at the last public meeting versus the terms that are before you today, your staff did an incredible job of negotiating for us, with us, to a point where no longer do we not only we finance the school, you own the school, and we pay probably what is above fair market rent if you take actual value of land today, and we pay about $6 million in land lease to the city over 50 years, or in 35 years, $3.8 million. We also will build this school at no risk to the city, run this school at your benefit, of course, for your residents, and at the end of the lease, hand it back to you with your inspections that you're going to require based on what you've put forward, Vice Mayor, with all the other amendments which we've agreed to. And yes, each one of you have negotiated with me individually. You have also negotiated through your emissaries and your representatives. And I hope we have shown you as a community, because I just represent ultimately the parents and the kids that go to these schools, that we've been an example to them of good faith negotiations. And at this point, the dilemma we have is that delaying is killing. So it might sound good to say delay, but the truth is delay kills, because what happens now is we can't build the school this coming year if we delay. And if we can't build the school, then 9th graders don't have a place to go to school for 10th grade. And kindergartners, and what we'll be forced to do is, with a school with over 1,000 students on the waiting list, is to reduce the incoming student population to near zero for the kindergarten class. Is that right, our principal? Yes? To our school principals here. And so what I want to offer you tonight is that you have been well represented. You have negotiated on your own individually. You have negotiated as a team. You have gotten, if you look at these terms, nearly everything you've asked for. I try to hold some semblance of value for the school, like using the baseball stadium because it's for the school's benefit. It doesn't help Charter School USA. And quite frankly, we believe that this is one of those opportunities that if you start to unravel what has been done after weeks and weeks and weeks and months, you will find that this project will fall apart. It won't happen. And all the promises of others may not happen as well. And if they do, so be it. But at least you have someone here tonight who's worked in good faith with you all for months. And who's willing to do what's best for these kids, because we can be gone in a year ourselves. At the end of the day, this is a school that's permanent, it's for you, it's a public school, and we just feel that this is the opportunity tonight to vote up or down on this project to make it happen.
Before I open the public hearing,
Mr. Mayor?
I just want to see if there's another comment. You have comments, sir?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Can I do as well, Mayor?
Thank you. This would be to Mr. Hage or one of his representatives, and Richard also. One of the things that they've agreed to is the lessee agrees to indemnify the city for reasonable attorney fees and cost up to $50,000 for third-party lawsuits. And what I want to make sure of, and I'm not sure that $50,000 will cover lawsuits if they're brought before us, and I don't want the city's taxpayers footing the bill fighting a lawsuit. So I think we need a little bit of work on that. I've been notified that they're coming from landowners in that area, and I've told them they've got to do what they've got to do. But I don't want to see the city taxpayers footing a law bill for Charter Schools USA. So I think we need to maybe work on that language a little bit and tweak that and make sure that the city is covered. I don't know, $50,000 doesn't go a long way anymore, unfortunately, when it comes to lawyers. And I know you pay your gentleman, and you know where it gets you on an hourly basis. And if the city's faced with these lawsuits over this, we can't sustain that. We've got a tight budget down here. We trimmed nearly 1/3 of our attorney's fees off the budget this year. And if we get into that type of litigation, it's going to be harmful to the city's taxpayers too. So I think we need to look at that and make sure that the city's not holding the whole bag when it comes to that. Mr. Attorney, how could we go about maybe clarifying that, or what do you think?
The
Is there some kind of clause we could put in there?
The attorney's fees provision that's in the contract now, other than litigation.
Right, it only covers the letters that have been sent so far.
It only covers the one letter that I wrote.
And Lord knows what else. Attorneys are very creative, and if they send out more letters or come up with more angles, then we're not going to be covered by what this document here says tonight.
In order to accomplish what you want to cover, you would need to put an obligation on the school to indemnify and defend the city for defend the city, pay for attorney's fees, and for any cause of action brought challenging, and we would use some broad language, the approval of the school, the propriety of doing it, the substance of, that's what you need, if that's what you want to accomplish.
Because, not only are we facing the possibility of these lawsuits or these bills towards the city from, litigation, it's possible, and it may not show up, and that's fine too. That's up to whomever wants to do whatever. But this particular project is taking a lot of time, and still going to take a lot more time of the attorneys and all that. So I want to make sure that we're taking care of there, and that the citizens of Homestead aren't given some astronomical bill at the end of this and say, holy mackerel, what happened? Why are we paying this amount in attorney's fees for somebody else that's doing business in the city?
If you wanted to accomplish that, you'd need to make a motion to, again, we're not going to draft language here tonight, but for the city to be fully covered in case of any litigation, including attorney's fees and damages. You need to make a motion to do that.
I don't know how to.
Yeah, from the lessee's perspective, we discussed this term in the discussions with the city attorney and Councilman Maldonado. And what we did before we talked about a number is we asked to review what your city attorney had provided to you as to letters that had been provided by a local landowner, as well as my own attorneys to review that document. And they did that, and we asked for the reasonableness of how reasonable would it be for this to be litigation, or at least litigation that we could defend. And I won't speak for your attorney, but my attorney's here to speak a little bit to what he feels as the reasonableness of that to the degree he wants to, without that being in the public sphere if it's a future lawsuit. I will say this, though, because I'm not a lawyer. I have found in my many years of business, and I know most of you are business people, that the fear of lawsuits is always there. And it is always going to be there, especially when somebody's benefit is not made to someone else's benefit, in this case, the city. And so what I would offer you is that you have with us a long-term partner. We've been here for 7 years running an outstanding A-plus school. We've opened another one for you on time, on budget. We'll do the same thing in this case with the new high school. And we'll do it in a way that's open for the public to see, and that you, as council members, have I think, the ability to stand with integrity before the voters and say, you did what was right for kids and for parents over those of special interest. And in this case, if that's what happens, we're prepared to do our part in this. If there needs to be, you know, a number that's proffered differently, I think an open-ended commitment on our part would not be something we would want to take on either.
Yeah,
we're all benefiting the kids here, so I think there's a shared benefit. I think it's only fair for that to happen. We wouldn't ask you to cover for us, for example, for doing things on behalf of benefiting the residents of Homestead either. So I would say that there is every dollar, this is my last point, and every dollar that's offered up in this agreement comes from dollars that otherwise would go into the school because these are public dollars. And I just want that to be known. These are not fungible dollars that just come out of nowhere. These are dollars that won't pay for teachers or classroom equipment or supplies or computers. And so those are limited dollars. They're public dollars just like your dollars are public. And I'm not trying to say they're not any more important or less. I just want to proffer up that those are education dollars, and I know you guys are all for education, and that's where those dollars will have to come from to defend the city if in fact there's a lawsuit. I just want to make that point.
Yeah. One of my things is, you know, and you say it's for education, and I'm all for education, as you know. But if the city gets into a gigantic lawsuit and loses, then the city's going to end up taking away public services such as trash, police, or something, because we're going to have to come up with that money. We, quite frankly, we don't have the money anymore to do that type of stuff in the city. Unfortunately, the heyday is gone, and we are on a shrinking tight budget. So I understand your importance, but the dollars to the citizens are important also. So we got to make sure that both banks are not, you know, and that's my point.
And I just want to offer up to the city that, you know, this is
what I'm trying to say is we need a partnership.
I understand.
And if something bad happens and we go beyond this amount, then we may have to revisit this. And if you are, I guess, offering that we can go back and have discussion if we hit this limit or something like that, and revisit it or something. Because that's a big concern to me, that the city gets, I mean, we've got law bills that are out of control here on some lawsuits. I mean, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 we spent on defending the city. And if that happens again, quite frankly, I don't know where we're going to get it.
Councilman Ed Pozzuoli, on behalf of Red Apple and CSUSA. Mr. Hage does put a cap on my fees. And my fee on this file has long since run out. But I did get a lovely parting gift in a red T-shirt last time. So a couple points. First of all, we reviewed, along with your city attorney, reviewed the letters that were sent in. And frankly, over my 25 years of practicing law, I've seen many of those types of letters sent in. Some are taken more serious than others. The response that your city attorney provided was not only appropriate, but was legally sound, and basically cut to shreds the stances of the writer of those letters. The idea that the lawsuit would be filed against city, because remember, the courthouse is open every day, and it takes papers from whoever will file them. We cannot stop that. And in fact, by putting a number in this agreement as an example, we just told the people who would bring a lawsuit potentially how much money they can extract from this school by way of pain. All right? So, and I don't find that very funny, frankly, because I think the lawsuit is simply a slap suit. And I will share with you, we offered to take on the defense of the lawsuit directly, but the city attorney, I think correctly, because I've been in many situations similar to his, decided that no, I think the city wanted to control, if it was going to be sued, it wanted to control who represented it as the city attorney would. And so in return for the choice of having the city attorney represent the city in defense of the action, you know, we requested a limitation on it. And in fact, it's not even a sharing relationship, because the lease says the first $50,000 is on the school's tab. So it's not like, you know, $1 you're in, $1 we're in. No, the first $50,000 comes out of the school's tab, and everybody around that room felt that it was fair relative to the legal assessment, at least that I made. I'll let your city attorney, who's quite able, speak for himself as to what he believes the threat of that is.
Thank you, Ed.
Richard?
I mean, we've been, over the years, you know, in many situations where we've almost in every case proved to be right. But I have to tell you that, you know, that as you know, painfully aware, these lawsuits are expensive to defend. And the reason I raised it in the negotiations, because I am concerned about it. I mean, you know that even in cases where we're 100% right, it's expensive to prove that point. I do think that, you know, that I think it's a concern, and I think that we could, I mean, we're dealing with serious, the letters that we're getting, and we're getting from serious people, and I think we could get a lawsuit over this. I think we win, otherwise I wouldn't be, you know, I wouldn't be allowing you to get into this agreement, but we've been here before. And so, you know, you know, I honestly think that what Councilman Burgess is saying is well taken, and I think that we do have some protection in the agreement. Whether they will agree to more, you know, is a matter of, you know, how much you can do here. But there is some protection, but it is limited just to the points that are in the letter that I drafted. If there's other issues that are brought up in litigation, we don't have any coverage. You know, there's no coverage at all from them. It's just the items addressed in my letter, in that long letter that I wrote you, dealing with the ones, the allocations that have been raised. So if there's other issues, they're not covered at all by this $50,000.
Okay, Councilwoman Lobos.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Aside from what has already been raised, I want to address something that I've been very concerned with. Mr. Hayes, you used the terms good faith and choosing to delay, and I want to address that. This item was actually advertised to take place last week, last Tuesday or Wednesday, and I was flabbergasted that something would be placed on the agenda without having the council, and I did not have anything in front of me. A meeting had taken place the previous week, that Friday, with the Keysgate delegates, and they were coming to me asking me for the agreement that was spoken about. They were saying that at the meeting, yourself and some of the representatives were saying there's some new terms that we've talked about and we agreed with the city. Now, when they come to me and they ask me, well, what are those terms, where can I get it? One resident even told me that he was Googling e-docs to try and get a copy of this agreement. And so at that point, I contacted the city clerk, I contacted the city attorneys. I expressed to them that I was very displeased with not being able to have something in my hands, one, two. But I didn't understand what was proposed as an amendment. So for the sake of not understanding, I would have to vote no on the amendments, just so that I want to read and I want to understand what it is that I'm committing to the city for the next 35 years. I'm not comfortable with saying that we iron out only major points and then the rest in detail. I understand that a procedure comes forth with the site plan and all the other details come forth for us to approve, but these are some major things. For example, I understood before today that it was a 35-year lease with the option to extend 15. It wasn't until the city attorney sat down with me and said, no, you have to think of this as a 50-year lease. And I said, but it says option. And he says, no, because it's the leasee's option. And so I agree with the first amendment that was offered, first part of the amendment, the term. Now, a big part of that is the purchase of the building. I didn't quite understand whether we were going with an extension of the lesser's option to then have the option to purchase the building, because initially the city attorney explained to me that we were getting the building.
Yes.
So that's a significant change. If we agree to have the option on the lesser's part, that we would then have the option to purchase the building, which makes us go back to the other point, which wasn't a point, because the agreement before us tonight said that we would get the building.
The motion on the agreement that's in that was distributed provides that either after 35 years or at the lessee's option, after another 15 years, the building would belong to the city at no charge. What's been proposed is that, and there's a 15-year, right now in the agreement, there's a 15-year option for that belongs to lessee to extend the lease. That's what's in the agreement. What's been proposed is that at the time that the option needs to be exercised, if the city does not want the lessee to continue for another 15 years, then the city and the operator would each appoint an appraiser who would appoint a third appraiser, an independent appraiser, to do an appraisal of lessee's rights, the value of lessee's rights during the last 15 years, during that 15-year option period, and put a value on that. And then the city would have the option of then purchasing the building for the appraised value at that time, or allowing lessee to continue with leasing the building for additional 15 years. That's the way I understand what the motion is.
I don't have going on to the second item, I don't have a problem with the memo that the Air Base has turned in. I briefly read it. It was submitted this afternoon, and as discussed, I don't have an issue with that. I didn't quite understand the stadium and the parking lot issue. Again, I know Councilman Shelley was asking for clarifications, and the more clarification he got, the more confused I got. So I don't know where I stand on that. The building of the yearly inspection, I think, is a great idea. I think that as presented, it in spirit is towards the fact that we may own this building and we want to, on a yearly basis, assess the quality of it. And I would just, my final comment on the objections that I have. This afternoon, our Director of Development Services, Sergio Perinos, gave us a memo. And at the end of the memo, it says that changes only address the proposed 13-acre charter school site and do not take into consideration future sites. But then the memo through the city manager says it may or may not require to amend the proposed language to increase land areas for said schools. And we're talking about the NOPC and also the Department of Community Affairs. May or may not, it's not a good memo to submit to council, because that doesn't give a definite answer whether we're in the clear on the issues that were raised or we're not. So it either needs to be we are, it may need to, it will need to be changed, or it won't be needs to be changed. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Shelley.
I'd like to echo some of what Councilwoman Lobo said. You know, I too am somewhat, you know, I've been frustrated in this process, although I've not been officially involved in it, but I have been in the back, you know, paying attention to what's going on and asking staff questions. And I'm frustrated because, you know, Mr. Haig and Charter Schools has done a great job of getting me information. I make a phone call and they give me the information. I want numbers, they give me the numbers. The problem is it's their numbers. You know, I have to assume that there's probably some bias in the numbers. I'm sure they're giving me honest numbers, but that's just, you know, in a legal world, that's what I'm used to seeing. You have advocates for both sides. And the problem I have is that I'm not getting anything from staff. You know, I'm making a big decision tonight, and I really have no numbers. I have no recommendation from my staff. Now, I know this is a policy decision, and my policy is that this school is a great school, that they have done a great job with both schools that they've opened and operated here in the city of Homestead, and so for that I commend them. But my problem is I don't have quality information in my mind. I have nothing to compare. I can't look at facts from the city and staff and facts from the applicant and say, okay, I now can make an educated policy decision because I have all the information, and I may decide that we aren't going to get top value for our land, but that's a policy decision that I need to be making up here. And I don't have that information. I don't know. I'm going to make a decision tonight potentially, and 6 months from now the information that I wanted is going to show up, and we're going to look like we gave away everything. Or we may find out that we got a great deal. I don't know. I have no idea. The numbers, you know, Councilman Maldonado and the attorneys did a great job negotiating. We went from, you know, $1 to $90,000 to $150,000, and the numbers here look okay. I mean, they look fine, but I have no information to make that judgment on. It's just I'm taking your word for it, and I still haven't heard from staff what their recommendation is, and that goes to the memo that we just received, you know, a couple hours ago. This is all, it's very frustrating for me, and I understand the school and everyone that's involved has been going through this for probably, what, 2 years now, 3 years now, and so for them this has taken forever. But for us up here, because of a lack of information over the last couple of months, it feels like it's still rushed. And so I sympathize with what Councilman Lobo says, because I feel the same way. It's more of a rant than a question, but.
I might proffer this up. Obviously, we would love to have had a single source of negotiating with the city. We've done many deals with cities across the state. However, in the process that we've been through, it's actually represented more individually, each of you, what you've wanted than you would have had if you would have given that power to a city manager. Because I've worked with each one of you individually to the degree you've asked me to, and I've pretty much conceded on every single point that's been asked. So I hear you, Councilman Shelley, and I would be frustrated too, but I think in general, we know that this is a project that has substantial time in being in the public place and discussions. One of the things I did provide to Councilman Shelley when he asked for it were numbers that I've put forward in a PowerPoint that's able to go up on the board behind us, and I have hard copies I would like to provide to all the council members. If you don't mind, and those numbers then would be available to everybody. I didn't provide them to everybody because it was asked by one council member in the last 36 hours, and I provided those immediately. But I thought that it'd be only appropriate to bring them and show them all to you. So maybe we could put that up and just go through a couple. No, they're right here. If it's okay, Mayor, maybe I could I think this might be helpful for the overall discussion, because the truth is, whether we call it a workshop or a city council meeting, you need information, and we can try to provide that, and then you can discern with staff how accurate it is. I want to just flush through some of these and go right to some numbers. These numbers represent the actual numbers in the lease agreement, representing on the top what would be a purchase price of the land rather than a lease. So what we did is we took the lease based off of the incremental rent, and then we interpolated it, basically brought it back into a purchase price at what would happen if we were buying the land with payments of 35 and 50 years. So we did it both at 35 and at 50, and we basically took a 6% interest rate, which right now in the marketplace is pretty much what these deals cost. This represents purchasing the land for $1.65 million, which would be at the 35 years. This represents $1.95 million at the 50 years. And I think when you look at the land, you're talking about under 7 acres of use for the school, and an additional 7 acres or so. I don't have the numbers exactly. They're probably right here. 6.6 and 7.9 are the two acreages. It represents whether you divide it among all the acres, even though we're only using the parking lot part-time, well over $100,000 per acre, or if you were using just the value against the acreage we're getting use of with the building, over $200,000 an acre. So you can see that for land with a very limited use, with a park designation, and with land that's been sitting there empty for a long time and can't be used for a lot of things, that's a very good value if we were just to buy the land from you today. So I know that's not possible under the city arrangement for the DRI and the control of your land, but we would be just as willing to purchase the land as we would be to lease the land from you, because we know that the price of the land is either going to be paid through a lease or not. The advantage to the city is that we never pay off the land. We continue to pay for the land in a lease, and it continues to increase every 5 years. And so the value to the city is either $3.8 million, $3.8 million without the 15-year option, or $6 million with the 15-year option. So that's just the lease value of numbers of money that's coming to the city per the contract. And I don't think you can debate those numbers because they're the actual numbers in the contract. The second piece is that we took the value of the facility and said, what would it be worth to the city after 35 and 50 years to the city? And what we did is we depreciated that building using an assumption of $27 million for the cost of the building, a 2% annual real estate inflation, and a 75-year useful life, which is what we have designated by the state as the useful life for this building. So when you look at those numbers, what you come up with is at 35 years, the building is still worth $26 million to the city. At 50 years, it's worth $24 million to the city. This doesn't take into consideration if real estate markets actually start to get back to a more growth-oriented area. This is the most conservative analysis. So we took a very conservative analysis, took the numbers that we negotiated with the city, and plugged those in, and that's what you'd have. So you would have, at 35 years, $26 million plus $3.8 million of already paid rent to the city. At 50 years, you would have $6 million of rent plus $24 million of value in the building, assuming it depreciated for those next 15 years. The next chart represents the analysis comparing the projected annual facility cost for the proposed new charter high school with the existing Keys Gate Charter School that we've been operating in your city per your request, Councilman Shelley, for the last 7 years. What we did is we took a cost per student for the proposed building and tried to analyze a lease value on this model versus a purchase, a lease value here versus a construction value here. So we did is we said we have 1,150 student capacity in the existing Keys Gate Charter School. The new high school will have an 1,800 student capacity. The debt service, we don't pay debt service, we pay a lease. That's why you see the lease number right here for our existing school. These are all public documents that are audited by the state, by the Auditor General every year, and are fully in the public. We can provide any audited financials to the city for verification. And then we broke that down, and as you can see, we just divided the 1,150 students into the 1,150, and it's basically $1,000 per student from the state funding that we pay the landlord for the existing Keys Gate Charter School. I don't want to go too fast. Is that okay? On the other line, we took the 1,800 students. We took the debt service for the improvement, which we basically took at, and here's the terms, here's what we did. We based it upon $27 million of improvements at the current bond rate of 6%. And as your city knows, you have been provided a schedule with all the bond terms of what we just purchased and paid for with the $4.5 million of improvements on your existing property. That schedule's here, it's in the public record, and this represents what would be a 6% bond rate for the $27 million, averaging on top of that the $110,000 average. It actually goes up, as you know, up to over $150,000 of lease payments to the city. This represents the 110 average. And then the current year of the lease with a turnkey, and that represents, if we go back here, basically the 1.8 million, which is the debt service per year, the 110,000 which we're paying the city, divided by the cost per student comes out to, by the 1,800, $1,087 per student. So it's actually $86 more per student per year that we're paying the city than we are paying a private landlord. And then we took the acreage and we broke it down. What would that look like on an acre basis? Because you asked the same question, Councilman Shelley, which is, what would that look like? It's about $115,000 an acre over here when you look at the annual acre cost. It's $134,500 for the city. No one, and I sit here in front of the public record, in any way, shape, or form necessary as a person who runs charter schools across the state of Florida. No one can say that this deal is nothing but outstanding for the city. It financially provides the private sector taking the risk, the public sector taking the benefit, and the students and the families bringing in a needed activity today, guaranteed in the lease to happen within a specific period of time, or we're in default. And there's lots of default provisions that your attorney and your folks have put into that against us. And I understand that frustration, but I ask for you tonight, after 5 years of discussing this and 2 years of serious discussion with this city, including hours and hours of sitting in front of this city, that you would at least consider tonight that the basic terms of this deal represent an outstanding financial position for the city and a fair opportunity for the charter school to operate a high-quality, high-performing charter school.
Thank you, Mayor. My intention with the next comment is to see how we can break this down. The four-part amendment that was given, Richard, is it okay to make an amendment to the amendment so that we take each of these individually? And as we take it individually, I would like you to point out the section of the lease that we're going to so that I can read what it currently states, and then you can explain what the language would change to, strike through, so that we can take this, so that I can understand what it is that we're proposing to amend, please?
The problem is that there's, on these, other than the airbase language, there are no sections in the lease that deal with this, this, let's say, this option to purchase. There's no language at all there in the lease about that because it's a new concept. There's not language dealing with the cooperation with the third party because it's brand new. And there's no language dealing with the concept of inspections. And I understand your frustration in terms of not having the language in front of you, and although I did have a brief conversation with Mr. Pozzuoli before the meeting, I haven't really thought about real language for this, but I'm very concerned, just based upon experience of sitting here drafting scribbling down language for a 35 or 50-year lease, that somehow or another it's that it needs to be tied back into other language, and I would strongly recommend that we deal with the concepts here and make sure you understand the concepts and allow us to draft the language afterwards, because I'm concerned about making an error.
Well, then, if we may, can we still take it item by item rather than just moving on four parts? I mean, is that possible?
The correct motion is the motion to make a division of the motion, or you can just do it by consensus to go down each one.
Mayor, if I may, before.
Mr. Burgess had the...
Okay, yes, sir.
Perfect man at the podium, Mr. Pasquale. I believe you offered a while ago, you said that you guys had offered to represent the city if anything should come up. Does that offer still stand after talking with my attorney?
Yes.
He said that.
I think that's a very good deal for the city.
Yeah.
Very good deal that... So there needs to be another item, which is that the city gets sued.
Could I amend my motion to add that?
Yeah, I think he can, Councilman Burgess can add just an additional amendment, which is, as I understand it, because we've been talking here on the side a little bit, is that that if the city was sued as a result of its actions in approving this lease or allowing the lease of land, that the charter school would defend us at its own expense. That's the motion.
No problem.
Yeah, and of course, we would have oversight through your office. Right.
So you would cooperate with them and...
So would it need a second?
Second.
That's it.
Well, why don't we put them all together when we're finished here, and let's go down them like Councilman Lobos asked. Let's go down them one by one. There's not that many. And then move forward after that. We're going to work these out.
You want me to go through each one?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, if I just may make a suggestion, may you speak a little louder? I'm having a hard time hearing that part of the dais, please.
Sure.
Okay, so the first one, the first amendment...
Richard, one quick question.
I just wanted to clarify what you stated, and that is that we're going to go through each amendment. You want us to vote conceptually tonight, and then you would draft the language after the meeting. Are we going to get an opportunity to approve that language later? Is that what we're saying?
The way that I drafted the resolution, which is, we do in a lot of our cities, is that, you're approving the agreement without any material changes. So I did not anticipate, of course, I'm happy to share the language with you, but I did not anticipate bringing the language back again. But it's up to you, it's up to you. I would generally say that the language would be acceptable to the city manager.
You're going to read it
and the
line by
city
line.
attorney. Pardon?
You're going to read it to us line by line?
Not the language.
Oh.
I don't have the language for some of these amendments, and I wouldn't
1 second.
even attempt to draft it. So whatever your pleasure is, my intention was to get the concepts down, and with either this city manager or another city manager that you might appoint, go over and agree upon the language. If we had a problem, deal with that. So that would be my intention.
Yeah, is she, are you finished? Yes, Madam.
I'm sorry. As the maker of the motion, those 4 items, and as somebody who's, like I said, has dealt with business leases for years and years and years, you know, are you talking about taking some of them off? Because I'm very strong about keeping
not
those
talking
4
about
items
taking
plus
any-
the...
No, I'm
Mr.
talking about going through each one. I think the request is made that we just vote on each one individually, but not take any of them off. That, you know, that we go through and vote on your motion, but just individually as opposed to
Full understanding.
for 4 together.
And adding Mr. Burgess's.
And adding Mr. Burgess's.
That's very good, by
Yes,
the way.
yes. That's what they, not to eliminate any.
No, that's a good one.
You just talked about not doing...
Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. So the first one that has been proposed is the one in reaction to the November 17, 2010 from the Air Force. We already have a provision. This one, Councilman Lobos, I can point you to the provision in the lease. It's on page 24. On section 14.16, we do have a provision already in the lease, which says, during the term, the following disclosure shall appear in the application and enrollment form for each student entering the charter school. And then we have a disclosure about the fact that the school is within the flight path. The military has provided some clarifying language, which is more accurate and is contained in their November 17th, 2010 letter. And so the amendment number 1 is to include the military language to replace the language in 1416. That's the first motion.
We have.
That's the easiest one and the simplest one to explain.
Since it's been moved and seconded, we just vote.
It's been moved and seconded, so you could just vote on this.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thanks, Alan. Let us try to get through these quickly.
Okay, the second one, which I just explained, I apologize if I'm not explaining these things clearly, but I'm doing the best that I can, deals with the fact that what's in the current lease as the lessee's right to extend the lease now turns into, at the 35-year period, at the city's option, the city can say to the lessee, we're interested in perhaps purchasing this property. Appraisers would be appointed by the city, or maybe just one appraiser.
Yeah, how about this? At the end of the 35 years, the lessee would extend, assuming the lessee extended the option, because if the lessee decided he wasn't going to extend the option, then the building would be turned over to the city. That'd be the end of it.
Correct.
So in the event that the lessee extended the option the additional 15 years, the city would then have a right to either allow the lessee to exercise that option and proceed with the 15 years, or could buy out the balance of the 15-year lease based upon a 3 appraisal system, 1 yours, 1 ours, and 1 picked by the 2 appraisers, whatever that value of that buyout of the balance of the lease would be, and call it a day.
May I
Question?
Madam Vice Mayor.
thereby giving the city control. In other words, the city can, that's what I heard him
Right,
say.
the city would have the absolute right.
Yeah.
Well, the city would have, if they decide to exercise, if the city, they don't exercise their option, then the building belongs to the city. If they decide that they would like to exercise their option, the city would have the absolute right to say, no, we're going to purchase the building and go through that procedure.
Thank you.
Question.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. Richard, are you saying, maybe this is a question for the charter school, are you saying after 35 years, there will be perhaps debt left on the building? So we will inherit not only the building, but the debt that goes along with it to pay off the building. Is that not right?
No, that's not the way the motion has nothing to do with the debt.
But that's, I'm asking for clarity,
Yeah,
so I understand it.
The clarity would be that an appraiser would come, we would get the building free and clear of any debt. The motion is basically that an appraiser would come in, 3 appraisers would come in and praise the value of the last 15 years of their lease, and would give us a number, and then the city would have the ability, the option, to purchase the building after 35 years at that number. But the debt would stay with the operator.
Well, the debt, here's the, just so you know, the reason why the buyout, one of the reasons why the buyout would be necessary. One is that it's valuable, the 15 years to continue to run the operation, but also would at least allow us to pay the debt off. And that would be dealt with as a closing item,
But
Richard.
the
That's
city
what I would anticipate.
But the city would not be involved in your debt, would not be assuming your debt, no.
No, that's, I'm sorry, Richard.
Yeah, I want to clarify that. The reason for 35 years was that's the length of the term of the debt in itself. So we wouldn't anticipate there being any further debt. However, the school might inherit some new debt because of fixing HVACs or whatnot. At the time of the purchase option basic of the city, you would then take that appraised value, and I would have to pay off the debt from that appraised value so that it became clear and clean to the city, and that's why there would be that transactional opportunity at 35 years.
Yeah, that needed to be clear because that was not in that. Okay.
Mr. Shelley.
I want to walk away.
I have a follow-up to that question as far as just for clarity purposes, understand, are we valuing the value of the building? Because based on the numbers that were presented in the PowerPoint, it's like $26 million. That doesn't seem like a great deal.
It's not the value of the building, it's the value of their leasehold, the 15-year leasehold on the building, not the building itself.
I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that.
Right. Because that's all we have at that point, right? So.
Okay, we have a motion?
There's a motion on the floor and seconded.
Okay, roll call.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wallman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay, the third one is, and Ms. Pasquale, correct me if I'm incorrect, or Vice Mayor Waldman, if the city transfers ownership one way or another of the baseball parcel to a third party, that the operators of the school will cooperate with the third party in the use of
The use of either the baseball or just the surrounding area, because remember, we have a non-exclusive license on the parking.
Right.
So as a good neighbor, we may have to share that with them on weekends, so you're going to want our cooperation with that third party, because you don't want to inhibit your ability to attract a quality third party.
Okay, so that's what that is, number 3.
Good, understand. Any questions?
I do have a question.
Please,
As the agreement stands, non-school hours, the parking lot pretty much belongs to the city, right? For our
School hours,
use without any
first of all,
permission
they're not leasing the parking lots. They just have a license on the parking lots, and they have a right to use the parking lots during school hours, and the city has the right to use the parking lots during off-school hours.
Okay, thank you, because the word weekend was just mentioned, and I wanted to make sure that...
No.
Okay, thank you.
But there still has to be some cooperation, because they may have run concurrent events, so you want to encourage communication, that's all.
Right, the lease says the city expressly reserves the exclusive right to use the parking parcel outside of normal school hours, but will cooperate in good faith with lessee in coordinating such use. That's what the current lease says.
Well, no, I think you said it both of you said it very well. I mean, my whole intent was just that we all have to get along. We all have to work together. Okay? All I'm going to say.
Need to vote on that.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Burgess? Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wallman?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay, the fourth one would be that the city would have the right to do yearly inspections of the property in order to assure that it's being operated and maintained in accordance with standards in the lease and first-class charter school operations.
Perfect.
Simple. Got a motion and a second, right? Roll call.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wallman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess? Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, the last one which will actually take a lot of language to do, but the concept is that the city is sued as a result of entering into this lease. The charter school operator or the lessee will defend the city, pay for the defense of the city, and subject to sort of coordinating the defense with the city, but it'll be at their cost and expense. They'll defend the city.
And
Question.
at their choosing of counsel.
With counsel of their choosing.
Thank you.
Question.
Madam Clerk?
No, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Williams.
Richard, in this case, I know your credentials. I know your firm has litigators. Are you saying that in the event, if we are sued and litigation is done, that they will represent the city of Homestead?
Correct. They would undertake the representation of the city of Homestead. They would choose counsel. They would pay for the lawyers, but they would have to do it in coordination with us. I would probably put something which says that counsel which is acceptable to the city so that we know that we're being represented by, if it's Mr. Pozzuoli's firm, it would be certainly fine. But they're going to undertake the representation and defense of the city.
You could suggest my firm in there, Richard. It's
I'll
okay.
just put it right
Mr.
in.
Hage would have liked that.
I like that. I feel comfortable. Okay, we good? Roll call.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay.
Mayor?
so-
Yes.
I do have one additional. I didn't want to interrupt the flow of the conversation that we were just having. I have one other one that I would like to entertain. I know that right now the city attorney and Councilman Maldonado were sort of our liaisons to this contract. And just, Richard, in language, where does the city manager, where do we designate the city manager to have any role in this lease?
We don't specifically designate the city manager, but as part of his normal duties, he would be the one who's responsible for monitoring their compliance with the lease, monitoring insurance requirements, making sure the inspections get done, collecting the rent, all of that. That would be part of his normal duties as the city manager.
So the language doesn't have to be included,
No,
it's just assumed
no.
that the city manager will
Correct.
participate?
Unless you, I mean, you're certainly welcome to
feel comfortable
designate someone else, but the city manager would be the one to do it.
Okay, one final thing then. Mayor, when I asked a question to the Director of Development Services through the city manager, I did not get a response. I would like that memo to be clarified, please.
If I may, it's very simple. The latter part of that memo relates to the potential location of future schools within the DRI. Some of those potential locations allow schools by right because of the current zoning that they might have. In those cases, it would not have to go through an NOPC. Only in those cases where you would be locating a school in an area where it would be a resulting change in land use that you have to go through the NOPC. Does that clarify your?
So there was the Vice Mayor spoke to another school within the area. What was that? Can you explain how that would impact within this language that you just?
In that particular case, we have an application, there are two applications for two school sites, both of which are in an area it's normally called, or typically called the Rockefeller Master Plan, which allows schools. Now, the question here is what type of schools we're going to allow, if this is an acceptable school, if a charter school is an acceptable use. If it is, we would allow it, and it wouldn't have to go through the normal notice of proposed change procedure because it's an allowable use in that overall master plan or zoning that was assigned to the Homestead Park of Commerce.
I'm sorry, I keep saying final, but I do have one more question. Richard, when do you anticipate having this language that we're going to vote on to us so that we can review what it is that we're approving tonight?
Less than a week.
I would say probably the beginning of next week. I just know what I'm doing, but I've been pushing everything else aside for this in the manager's contract, so I would say, I'm saying Monday.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yes, Mr.
But this is to the Development Director, Sergio.
Yes, sir.
The first school that we approved for Keysgate with the dorms, did that one go through the NOPC change?
That is part of this NOPC change that I'm reviewing right now, and that will be forthcoming. That's phase one of this NOPC change.
So
phase two, you will see both together in one.
Question to you, why didn't the first school go through the notice of proposed change?
It was contemplated in the initial agreement when it came to you, and I said it at the dais that once phase one was in and phase two was in the works, that process was going to be initiated. The proposal that I have includes both changes. In fact, because it's a notice of proposed change, it should contemplate not only the proposed sites, but also I have to do an analysis of all the schools within the DRI. So it's not only just the sites that will be evaluated, it will be the whole.
So all of the sites will be evaluated?
All will be part of the analysis.
But the 81.34 acres, if there's another school that comes on board, wouldn't that take us out of that 81.34 acres?
It would, like this one did, beyond what we already had. So every time you do a notice of proposed change, you affect in some way the land use. In this particular case would be the school land use. You can have a notice of proposed change like the other one that we have in the pipeline right now. It involves a motorsports complex. It's a different type of use, but every time you change a land use within the development of regional impact or DRI, you are supposed to justify that shift in land uses or square footage by allowing a little bit more of, say, office space here and taking it out in some other area. So there is an overall balance of square footage and or uses that are permitted within that DRI that you have to balance out at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
A follow-up question to that then, we've been, and not to include this language, but just as an example, explain it to me. We've been turning some residential projects back into temporary ag use within this area. How does that affect, I mean, just like you explained it, I mean, it would incorporate those type of uses, right?
Those are temporary permits, special exceptions that this council allows. In fact, we have one tonight, later on, and only for a temporary, for a period of time, due to the state of the economy at this point. But we're not changing the land use. You're only allowing a temporary use, which is consistent with the underlying use after all these years, on the line. Most, as you all know, all that land has been used for agricultural purposes for a long time. And to grant some relief to the property owners because of the market conditions, we created the special exception criteria to allow this for up to 5 years. But again, it's not a change in use. It's only a temporary permit to grant some relief. That's all.
Thank you.
Mayor, one more follow-up question. I'm done with this one. When we go through these changes, the state could actually require us to do more studies on the impact of the area?
Yes. The overall level of service within the DRI was approved back in 1990. So there is limitations as to what I can do as the director of the department to require additional concurrency. However, having said that, I can require, from the operational perspective, if I know that the level of service on X road is going below an E, for instance, level of service, I can make a condition of approval that the applicant mitigates the operation of that road. by adding a lane, by adding a turning lane, or by adding a signal, or limiting the access driveways, et cetera. There's a number of ways that we can deal with those scenarios.
Follow up, who pays for that?
The applicant.
So if the study then is required for that, the applicant will be served and say that they have to make those necessary investments on that.
They will have to mitigate the impact of that development from the operational standpoint. Now, if that development was outside the DRI, they're subject to concurrency standards, in addition to the operational standards that we follow.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Schiller.
I do have a question relating to what you just discussed with the notice of proposed change and how we're limited and the next landowner that comes through to do something, maybe at a different school or another type of development that's affected by any approval given to this school, may have to bear the burden as far as cost of that impact. Is that kind of a summation of what you stated, correct? And so my question then is this part of our litigation protection? You know, I know we keep referring to these letters, so City Attorney, is this included in what they're going to cover if we get sued because another landowner has, feels that they have to pay more than they would have had we not approved or this school not come along? Is that part of the litigation protection? Is that
the way I would contemplate drafting it? And I think it should be, you know, your intent that any litigation that arises out of our entering into this lease.
Correct.
And I would draft it broadly.
Okay.
Is going to be on their dime.
Just wanted to make sure. I want to make sure we're fully protected.
I appreciate that.
There's no loopholes where they say, oh, that wasn't what we discussed. It wasn't on a letter.
But to answer your question, and it's also stated in my memorandum to you, this application, the NOPC application does not prevent any other schools from applying.
No, right, I understand that. I just want to make sure.
Okay. This is a public hearing, and if there's no further discussion from council, I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there something further?
I do want to have a comment before we go to vote then.
You can go.
Oh, okay, thank you. So what we've just done right now is we've approved the amendments that were presented. We voted yes on all the amendments. And so essentially, once the public hearing is closed and we come back to us, we're going to be voting as amended, and then that's it, right?
Yes.
There's no further discussion on this lease. The language will come back to us just as a matter of presenting to us what we have voted on today.
Yes, because I think what we've just accomplished is transparency at its best. I mean, at its best. All of us.
Well, you're absolutely right, Mayor. As a matter of fact, Councilman Williams' recommendation that we go to workshop, we just did. This is, this was workshop.
Right.
This is essentially what would have happened, and it needed to happen. We needed to understand what we were voting on, and we needed to understand essentially what it was that we were proposing. So, workshop within a city council meeting. So, thank you.
I hear you. Thank you. So if there's no further question from council, I'd like to open the public hearing. And before we open the public hearing, I want to thank you for being patient, for sitting there for the last hour and a half. And I ask you to be very brief with your comments so that we can get on with this. We seem to be going down the right path here, and I'd like to wrap it up if we could. So with that said, it is now open for public comment. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
We all for it.
Oh, boy. Mayor, council, my name is Merle Cruz.
Don't mess it up.
Do what?
Okay, thank you.
Are these y'all's notes? These your notes? Are they worth money?
We're going to be done. We're going to make this short. Yes, sir. Please. We're going to do the time clock. If you'll restart it for him, please. Restart the time clock. Okay. Yes, sir. The podium's yours.
Thank you. My name is Merle Cruz, and last time I was here, it cost me $10 million for y'all to get a jewel that Baptist later paid $100 million out there by the turnpike. So we bought James Archer Smith and then turned it over to Baptist. Right. I'm here not as representative of the community, but as a substitute teacher for Charter School of Keysgate. My address is 6385 Southwest 110th Street, Miami. I'm going to talk about jewels for just a minute, and Homestead's got them. Homestead Air Force Base with the air show, the racetrack, the tomato fields, the winery, grapes, crops,
The overall environment down here is fantastic. I won't talk about the Field of Dreams, but you know, if the high school gets built quickly and they develop a baseball team, you know, they may want to play in that stadium. I've been with the Joint Commission on Accreditation of Hospitals and been in probably 200 hospitals and seen attitudes that go up and down a line. Here, I've never seen anything like what exists at Charter School of Keysgate. The attitude, the enthusiasm, the cooperation, the spirit, the working together, the caring, the family orientation.
No argument.
Organized and well run. You know, I don't know how much more I need to say because I about got you, I think. It will only be made better, and I know what you all have gone through with your deliberations, but it'll only be made better with the advent of the high school, and I thank you all for your patience and understanding. Thank you.
Now, with that said, are you giving permission to close the public hearing, or? Brief.
I got 3 minutes, right, Mayor?
Come on.
My name is Richard Kahn. I live in Augusta Greens in the Fairways, and I'd like to say that we got rid of the last city council, last mayor. They promised us schools. We've been paying taxes. I've been here since '66. They promised us everything, and we're surrounded by D and F schools. Nobody's mentioned about our real estate values, which I'm certain these amazing people that run this school will appreciate us and give us some kind of credit to the accounting. In addition, people get married. The politicians have lied to us. These are the only people I know for the past 6 years who have absolutely fulfilled every single promise. And they do it against such unbelievable odds. They're really fine people. If we want to give credit, I think for certain, the mayor, the vice mayor, Maldonado, Burgess, I know there's a little showboating around. They have plenty of time to talk to the great city attorney. As we talk to our attorneys, things didn't just come up now. Maybe they're not really interested. They have plenty of time to talk to the people that work administration, but maybe they didn't talk about it at the right time. We don't have to be geniuses to figure out. They're paying us millions of dollars. Right. They're training our kids. They're bringing value to our neighborhood. They're giving us $30 million to build something. Then they're buying it for us. They're giving it to us. We don't have to be geniuses to figure that out. I don't know what has taken so much adversity over the past 5 or 6 years to beat the crap out of, to beat these people to death.
You forgot about the 70% local preferential treatment.
And all of all 70% local treatment and all those people you got employed for us. You look out there, those are our license plates. Those are our pickup trucks. Those are our people. That's you, Mayor. That's Vice Mayor Maldonado, Burgess, and the city attorney. We trust the city attorney. We don't really care if one of the councilwomen or councilmen is going to get enlightened today. That's the man who we trust. If he says yes, we say yes. In the meantime, I'd just like to say that it's about time. The bulls make money, the bears make money, and the pigs get slaughtered. We've been pigs all this time. The fact that we could double dip and come back here is only an attribute to the current city council and the mayor and the vice mayor and the council folks on, and I'd like to just thank you and applaud you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
City council members. My name is Wes Hughes. My wife and 4 children reside at Dunwoody Place in the Fairways, along with myself. And I think this is a great town, I really do. You know, Homestead, to me, Homestead. I grew up in Key Largo, and I got to tell you, when I was growing up, Homestead was really nothing more than a way station to and from the Keys. That's really what it was to me. In fact, it was only on a fluke that after serving 7 years in the U.S. Navy, I was given the opportunity to live here after getting a job for what has been a godsend of a company for my family and I. And yet, it is establishments like this one that I work for, Homestead Hospital, the Air Force Base, Turkey Point, that typifies that this city is not just some remote way station or some rural farming community. Conversely, the advances that our city has made, especially after bouncing back from from Andrew, have turned the mindsets of many denizens to one of a neoteric vision while maintaining a down-home sensibility. So why are we here? Why are we here? We are here because, ladies and gentlemen, whether we like it or not, there's a truth, and it is an ugly truth. And it is a truth that exists whether we want to believe it. A truth that lies unspoken and yet lights out our fair city's night like an ominous comet, a harbinger of doom. A doom that's beset on our children, on my children. It is a fear that can only exist when your most important resource is at stake. We bloviate over the greatness of our city, and yet, opaque to us is the glaring reality that, though perceived by many, is never spoken out loud, and that is that gaping lack of secondary school education available in our community. To my children, we have so much, and yet because of this, we have so little. I'm not here to denigrate our public school system in any way. It's a wonderful system. It is that system that educated many of us here tonight. However, like all things worldly, entropy does take its toll. Even Rome fell. We must change or suffer stagnation and perish. The continuous politically motivated constraints, often beyond control of the county school boards, cry a death knell for that system. Change can be found in the form of charter schools. Charter schools have the advantage of bypassing many of these perturbations. By creating a school of choice and by relying on a lottery system based on parental involvement, charter schools have the ability to offer education that your children, my children, and this community deserves. I ask you to consider your history. I wonder how many ousted incumbents started their conceding speeches with this phrase, "I had the best interests of my constituency at heart." I implore you to ask yourselves, do you have our best interests at heart? Thank you.
Yes, sir, I do.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. John Hanson, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, Miami, here on behalf of M&H Homestead and Michael Latner, trustee of Keysgate 3 Trust. M&H Homestead agrees that providing a quality educational experience and opportunities to the community is an important goal. However, in doing so, the city must adhere to and respect the obligations which it has undertaken and recognized over many years and many administrations. While supporting the location of educational institutions within the community, M&H Homestead objects, as it has previously, to the city proceeding with its plan to lease a portion of the baseball stadium property for use as a charter school. By approving the lease, the city is improperly allowing and participating in a use of the property in violation of various ordinances and agreements, including the development order and the DRI governing the property, including the deed conveying the property to the city, the 1989 agreement related to the baseball property, and the 1993 agreement, which incorporated the 1989 agreement in its entirety. Approval of the lease would also place the city in the position of improperly allowing and participating in use of the property in competition with M&H Homestead that will prevent, inhibit, delay, or restrict M&H Homestead from developing its property, the remainder property, in violation of these same restrictions. We urge the city to respect its obligations and to reject this lease at this time. To amplify some of these points, the baseball property was dedicated to the city with the intention that it serve as land for public use. Lands for public use under the applicable declarations and agreements expressly excludes school use. The deed transferring the baseball property to the city is expressly subject to the conditions, restrictions, and limitations of record, including that declaration and its restrictions. By pursuing a school site on this property, the city will be running afoul of those restrictions. In both the 1989 agreement and the follow-on 93 agreement, the city expressly acknowledged and agreed to abide by the terms of all the prior ordinances, including the DO and the DRI. In particular, both the 1989 agreement and the 1993 agreement, the city agreed and pledged not to make a use of the property that would deviate from the development order. In a recent letter, the South Florida Regional Planning Council and DCA have expressed the desire to limit school facilities to a maximum of 81 acres. Beyond that, those agencies will require further evaluation. There's been discussion of that tonight. My client has pending applications for 2 additional schools that has been the subject of discussion tonight, and those could be, and very well likely will be, problematic given these restrictions under this lease. And
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Boo! What have you done for us all this time? You coming here now?
Shush, hey, come on. Come on, we agreed to respect each other.
Just one final point. I failed to point out that I'd left with the clerk materials for the
Okay,
council.
thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Kevin Sullivan, 1860 Southeast 6th Court. Concern on traffic, and I'm very happy to hear the development director saying he's going to have a traffic study done. We had a very, very fruitful meeting with the charter school and the Red Onion people, and it was big issue was traffic. And I listened tonight, and I think you've kind of put the charter school people in a little bit of a bind. They're going to cooperate with whoever might be taking over the baseball stadium. But the traffic pattern that they have in place now feeds the cars in 3 separate entrances off of Alex Muxo Jr. Boulevard. And it comes through the baseball parking area. So all I'm saying to you is they're agreeing to cooperate, but if you have any other outfit come in here and take over the baseball, you better put it in there that they have to grant them the traffic through that thing. Otherwise, their whole agreement that they presented to us at Keysgate is dead. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, with that said, seeing none and hearing no further public comment, I'll close the public hearing at this time. I'll bring it back to council. Final comments from council. Yes, Mr. Shelley.
Mr. Mayor, two quick things. Number one, I just wanted to state for the record, this thing started a couple months ago, and I had refrained from participating due to an appearance of impropriety, appearance of a conflict, due to the fact that my wife sat on the Keysgate Charter School Board. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, she resigned from that board, so I no longer have a conflict. She was accepted to a leadership program, which she had applied to. That program is a 2-year program. It conflicts with her meeting time, so therefore she resigned so that she would allow someone else who could serve under the Keysgate Charter School Board more properly. So I just wanted to make sure that was set straight on the record. The other thing too is we just got a kind of a long speech there about potential issues, litigation, et cetera. I just wanted again to confirm, because that's a big part of this deal, is that it does cover the lease, our litigation protection, and the development approvals, correct? Am I stating that correctly?
My understanding is that their obligation to defend us includes the lease and related development approvals, yes.
Okay. This one? That was
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, with that said,
One final comment, Mayor.
Okay, sure.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I just would like to
Hold your breath.
take this opportunity to thank the mayor and this council for giving me the chance to sit on this this so-called our deal for the Charter School USA. We spent a good part of the day working on this. We worked hard and we took everything into consideration. So again, I just wanted to express my thanks for this council and for the mayor for giving me the chance to represent the city and also to represent the citizens of Homestead. I hope that I did a great job. It was I gave it a good effort, so with that, I just want to thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Maldonado, and I was honored to appoint you to that and council to ratify it. You did a great job, and thank you very much. If there's no further comment, I would like to call the vote.
Councilman Burt.
It's on the motion as amended.
On the motion as amended.
Councilman Burgess.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos.
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Councilman Shelley.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Woolman.
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your patience, Mr.
Mayor,
Hayes.
I just would like to take 1 minute on behalf of the nearly 2,000 parents that attend this school that will be growing to nearly 4,000 by the time this project is completed. That this is a truly historic night, that you have, in fact, done your job. You have done it with diligence, each one of you. I want to thank each one of you individually because I can tell you I've spent numerous hours individually or with representatives. You have called, you have asked for documents. No one here can say as parents that you haven't done your job, that you haven't watched out for the best interest of the city. The deal has dramatically changed from the beginning to where it is today. It now stands, I believe, in the very narrow zone between what I can barely accept. So that's probably the best thing. And I just want you to know that as tough as it is, democracy is never pretty, it's never easy, but it's the best system we have, and it really does work. And I really want you to know, on behalf of our kids, the students, and the parents, and the teachers, and the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs you just created by that vote tonight, that how proud we are of you. Thank you. And one last thing, I will tell you, and this is earned on its own. If the mayor, I'm going to just say, this mayor took a position on this, it cost him a lot, even friendships, which is not right. But he did what was right. And you know what? You did what was best for the city tonight, not what was best for a special interest. And that's fine. We'll take on any lawsuit, and we'll defend it. And I'll stand proud for this city for the next 50 years to have a high school, because you, Mayor, and you, Vice Mayor, who's from day one, and every single one of you. Elvis Maldonado sat in a room for 6 hours, negotiated piece by piece. Councilman Burgess called me up time after time after time. Vice Mayor, up until 30 minutes we walked in here, was negotiating with me. Councilman Shelley rightly took himself out when he put himself back on because his wife is not affiliated. Let me tell you something. One of the toughest negotiations, all the data, all the numbers, that's what he wanted to know. What's best for the city. These guys were doing what your interest was. Councilman Williams, I love you. I know you have your interests, but you know this is good for kids.
Wait, I'm sorry.
And Councilman Lobos, I just have to say, Councilman Lobos, you can't ever say people are sitting in certain political corners. She did what was right for the city. I appreciate her. She's been honest. She's had integrity. I thank every one of you. Thank you very much.
Okay, take the kids home, put them to bed. We're going to recess for 3 minutes. Oh, thank you.
Hi, nice to meet you. Richard. White. From here? No. I mean, I've been...
For extending the meeting for an additional 30 minutes if we can, please. A motion?
I move to extend the meeting.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
We got the consent agenda. Public hearings, quasi-judicial, number 2, right? Item.
Yes, please be advised the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon these items, please indicate the item number you'd like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff has made their presentations on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to be either cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization, and further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any of the items on the agenda. Hearing none at this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify on the following quasi-judicial item.
Would you please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, please state your name, hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. You may be seated.
Thank you. Tab 15 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving a special exception requested by 10 Acres LLC to permit interim agricultural uses on approximately 10 acres of land located on the south side of Southwest 336th Street, west of theoretical Southwest 168th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Motion?
I move to allow the permit for interim agricultural use.
Thank you. Second? Okay, staff report?
Good evening. The proposed special exception, as the attorney indicated, is for the special exception to allow the grow crops and/or alternative hydroponic farm, aeroponic farm, container nursery, and/or a nursery on a 10-acre parcel that is located on the south side of Southwest 336 and west of Southwest 168th Avenue, just right on the outskirts, on the western border of the Villages of Homestead DRI. As you know, the ordinance was changed to allow for this type of special exceptions on a temporary basis back in June 21st, 2010. The application, in our opinion, complies with the criteria stated forth in that ordinance. This application went before the Planning and Zoning Board and it was unanimously approved. At this point, staff is recommending approval. There is a subsequent decision that you have to make today regarding an agreement that goes along with this decision pertaining to the general impact agreement that is normally attached to this type of decisions. So I don't know if it's prudent at this time, just
After you vote on this, tab 18 is the resolution which approves the general impact agreement that goes with this. So if we could just take that item after you approve this item.
Okay, we'll go from 15 to 18.
Yes.
All right, questions from council? If you hear no questions, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from someone?
Good evening, council. My name is Tracy Slavens, 701 Brickell Avenue. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I am prepared to make a presentation, but in the interest of time, I'm happy to just answer your questions.
Does anyone present? We're good? Okay, I have no questions. Do you have questions? Okay, anyone further? Public comment? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any final questions from council? No final questions, Madam Clerk? Roll call.
Councilman Williams, Vice Mayor Warman, Councilman Burgess. Yes. Councilwoman Lobos.
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado. Councilman Shelley.
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
That completes your quasi-items. Moving on to your legislative matters. Tab 18 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an interim agricultural use general impact agreement between the City of Homestead and 10 Acres LLC, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
I move to approve the impact agreement with 10 Acres.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. Staff report now. You got your...
Sir, this goes hand in hand with the previous application for the interim agricultural exemption, and it's just the attachment.
Okay. Okay, questions from council? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council? Roll call vote.
Councilwoman Lobos.
Yes.
Councilman Burgess.
Yes.
Councilman Shelley.
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you very much.
Yes, for the record.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Councilman Maldonado.
See him, I'm sorry.
Let's go back to tab 17, right?
Yes, elections.
Yes, Mayor.
Richard, 17? Acceptance of city council.
Yeah, there's an item 2, the city manager's contract before that.
Oh, that's right. What am I doing? Let's go back here. Addendum 2. Okay. City manager's contract. Entertain a motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
Staff report.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, before you have the proposed agreement for the new city manager. The city attorneys put together a memo which explains certain items just in brief regarding the agreement. So,
Do you want me to go through it? Councilman Waldman? And I negotiated this, so you want to?
Can I just say, Mayor?
Oh, sure.
I just want to say thank you very much again to Richard. Richard's wearing the crown tonight because he and I have worked really long hours on this, and I mean, I think it's a really good contract. We've done everything we can, and I'd like to turn it over to Richard, if that's all right, Mayor.
Okay.
Sure.
What you have in front of you is, well, as you remember, you gave me certain parameters to go back to the city manager. That was last Wednesday. Thursday, he and I met, had a very good meeting, and I went through with him the parameters that you gave me. He was not comfortable with those items. He was comfortable with most items, but there were several that he was not comfortable with and didn't feel that he could agree to. So after consultation with Councilman Waldman, what I did was negotiate the best that we could, and what you have in front of you basically is what he wants as chopped down by Vice Mayor Waldman. And she reduced a bunch of items that he wants. But this is basically the agreement that Mr. Gretzis wants. And I'd be glad to go through each individual item with you, but that's what's in front of you. Happy to either go through it or just answer questions, whatever you'd like.
I think it's kind of important you go through at least the changes for the public record.
Okay, I'm happy
I
to.
really do.
Okay.
Would you like
First
to
of
answer your
all-
question first?
That actually was my comment, that we
thank
would
you.
do that. We
I think
did
it's
get this
important.
agreement today at noon, so.
I'm very happy to. Okay. First of all, the term of the agreement is, that he's proposing is 3 years, starting on Monday, this Monday, November 22nd, 2010, and ending on November 21st, 2013. I've had some question as to why he's not starting tomorrow, and I think, honestly, very responsibly, he said, you know, there's the race coming up this weekend. He's not supervised the preparations for the race, and he doesn't feel like it's appropriate for him to take responsibility until Monday morning. Also, I think he's looking for places to stay and all of that, and he wants to get settled. So that's the term, a 3-year term. The compensation is initially $180,000. He gets a cost of living adjustments to the same extent given by the city to department heads. If there are none, he gets none. And in addition, the council may evaluate him and give him pay increases as you want to, from time to time. No obligation. Retirement deferred compensation, he has his own retirement and deferred compensation plans. The city currently, under the applicable plan, contributes 18% to these plans. What he's asked is that instead of contributing it to those plans, that he be able to designate which plans the money goes to. No different cost to the city, the same cost to the city. Health insurance, same thing on health insurance. He wants to take the amount that the city would pay for him for health insurance and give it to him as a monthly stipend for insurance. And he either has his own personal insurance, I didn't get into it with him, but he's going to take care of his own individual and wife/dependent health insurance. If terminated at the council's convenience, Mr. Gretzis continues to receive insurance during the severance period. Life insurance, this is one of the items that Councilman Waldman reduced him substantially on. He wants a death benefit on his insurance equal to 2 times his starting salary, so that would be $360,000 of term life insurance. Okay. Vacation leave, he was fine with what we had, in accordance with what we gave Mr. Shahada, which was accruing 4 hours for each work week. He does go to New York to visit his parents over Christmas, and so he asked for actually a longer time to go up there to visit his family, and he, in the end, what this agreement provides is 24 hours of vacation leave, which is basically 3 days, so he can go up and visit his family before he would actually accrue the time. And he receives a payment for all of his accrued vacation leave when terminated. Sick leave, he accrues sick leave at the annual rate of 3 hours each week, and upon termination, he gets payout for his accrued sick leave. Automobile allowance is the same as we had for Mr. Shahada, $750 per month. Moving expenses, Mr. Shahada's contract had a $7,000 educational benefit there. He doesn't need that, but he has asked for $3,500 if he moves to Homestead within the next 6 months.
It's a one-time fee.
One-time fee. He prefers to purchase his own telephone service, BlackBerry and all of that. So in lieu of having the city pay for it, he gets a one-time technology allowance of $150. Not one time, he gets a monthly technology allowance of $150. The termination procedure is basically the termination procedure that that's required by our charter. And the difference is that, if you remember, there was an initial vote that you took, and then he had a right to a public hearing. Mr. Gretzis wants 60 days between the vote and the public hearing so that he has notice and can deal with the charges that are brought. Severance pay. Initially, severance pay would be the lesser of what you instructed, which is 6 months, or what's left on his contract. However, if he moves his primary residence to Homestead within the next 6 months, then he receives his salary for with the lesser of his salary for the unexpired term of his contract, or 10 months severance. Termination. We put in 3 levels of termination. First one is the council's convenience, which I just described to you. The second one was he is aware of what happened with the issue with Mr. Shahada and the fact that the issue of what is conduct unbecoming is being litigated. It's certainly not an objective criteria, and so what he's asked for, if you terminate him for conduct unbecoming, he gets the lesser of his salary for the unexpired term, or 3 months severance. And then if he's convicted of a felony or misdemeanor involving moral turpitude or enters plea bargains, then he gets terminated without any severance at all. And then there's a provision that requires him to provide us 90 days notice prior to resigning from city employment. And if he resigns, he doesn't get severance pay. So there's in your packet under, I guess, addendum 1, is that where the resolution is? Addendum 3, there's the resolution, which I don't think that I have. Maybe you could read it, Elizabeth, I don't have it. Sorry. It's a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving and authorizing the interim city manager to execute an employment agreement, city manager to execute an employment agreement for the city manager, providing for an effective date. Actually, it should be the mayor. I'm sorry, the title I didn't catch. It should be the mayor executing the agreement. The body of the resolution is correct. So you need a motion and second for purposes of discussion.
I move it. Did.
Second.
I thought we did too. Okay, we did that, and we opened, we did staff report, questions from council.
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
We're in the contract on page 2. I believe.
Yes.
Is that right? Dealing with his vacation and sick time.
Actually, you're probably looking at the summary, Councilman Williams.
I'm sorry.
The contract is page 4 at the bottom, section
Page
10.
4. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My concern is that it will be conflicting with the city policy or code of the city, and if it has no cap on it, so it's unlimited. So potentially for his vacation time, we can perhaps be paying out $54,000 if we don't cap it by the city code. And my recommendation is that we cap vacation and sick time by the city code.
For the reference to the rest of the council, the city code provides that you can accrue a maximum of 90 days sick leave and a maximum of 2 years vacation accrual. So that if you wanted to do that, you would need to make a motion to amend the agreement.
Can I ask a question? Mayor, may I ask a question?
Please.
What is normal in the cities that you've been in, that you are in?
About this? About the vacation? It's all over the board. Some of them have, I mean, the way that this city works is that you really don't get to take any sick leave when you leave until you've been here 15 years. I think that's on the very, very conservative side. Some started after 5 years, some started, but it's really all over the board. I would have to really do like a survey to see. I don't recall exactly.
Question?
By the way, yeah.
Go ahead, Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. The only reason why I raise that issue because I want to still be in guidelines with what our code provides. So, you know, I understand what other cities do, but we have a policy or code that says it's capped. So I think he's just like any other employee. He should have the same status. I mean, that's just what we have allowed in our city. And so I think it still needs to be capped, or if not, we're going to have a situation on our hands like we have with, you know, what we're dealing with now with the former city manager.
If you're making a motion, I'll second.
Sure, I would like to make a motion that we cap the sick and vacation time so it runs in concurrent with our city code.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion?
No, I believe, if I may, Mayor, I believe along Mr. Williams' lines, you know, what's fair for all the employees should be fair for the manager. And it's in our code, and I think it's something that everybody, I think he can still live with that.
Okay, with that said,
I got some other questions, though, that I think.
You want to vote on that?
Do you want to vote on the motion now and then continue on? Because I've got some other questions about certain things I wanted to ask the attorney.
I'd rather you did if you don't want it. It's just easier to keep
Let's
track.
just vote on
so
it.
it's
We'll
Go ahead.
vote on the motion.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Baton?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Question, sir.
Yes, sir.
On the life insurance, I spoke with the attorney about it this afternoon, and I think our acting HR director may need to look into this, but I believe that he is supposed to pay taxes on anything that's valued over $100,000, or else the city could be responsible for a fine. So maybe you could look into that and make sure that that's handled. I don't, our attorney didn't
I think
see.
we could just, if we could just say, any taxes
would be
on
due.
this benefit will be payable by an employee.
And then one other comment I've got, the termination for conduct unbecoming.
If you don't mind, let's just vote on that.
if you don't
Sure.
mind.
Okay.
Got a motion? and a
Mayor,
second?
may it be repeated, please, because
It's
I
not-
could not hear what Councilman Burgess was saying.
What he's saying is that there may be an issue with regard to tax on the insurance stipend.
Life insurance.
Excuse me, on the life insurance, and that what he wants to say is that if there's any tax due on the life insurance benefit that we're giving him, it's going to be the responsibility of the employee.
Madam Clerk?
I need the motion in a second.
We have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second?
Thank you. Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Waldman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Sir, if I may.
Yes, please.
My next would be on severance pay, B, termination for conduct unbecoming of a public official.
Okay.
This is opposite of what we're doing now.
You're doing the public, you're doing the, you're looking at the memo?
Yes.
Okay.
We did not do that now on our Mr. Shahada's case, correct? We terminated without,
No, Mr. Shahada's case, you terminated for conduct unbecoming.
and that's
there-
exactly, right, without pay.
And and the way Mr. Shahada's contract was written was if he got terminated for conduct unbecoming, he forfeited his severance pay, and that's the issue that we're litigating
What?
over. What this would say is that if we terminate him for conduct unbecoming, that he would get the 3-month
3
severance.
months,
right.
or less,
Or
depending on
less,
where it was
depending.
at in the contract.
This was the last issue of negotiation. We had quite a thing about it and delayed the contract a lot because his concern is, and I don't want to speak for him, but he's not here, so I'll tell you what he said. I don't want you to think I'm advocating his position. He was just concerned that in light of what happened, that the term is subject to, interpretation, and that he didn't want to be in the same sort of position that Mr. Shahada was in, where basically he was just, he was terminated for conduct unbecoming, and he ended up litigating with the city, and he felt that having some severance there would be somewhat of a deterrent, protection for him.
I'll leave that up for other comments, and then maybe I'll revisit it, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that, and I don't know how that would look. I know we're writing a new contract for this gentleman, and what's been done in the past is done in the past. Would this have any effect on our litigation where we're at now with that or anything?
No.
Okay, thank you.
But I do think that it's a reaction to our litigation. I mean, he's a thoughtful person. He knows what, he reads and he knows but it is somewhat of a reaction, not to the litigation, but it's a reaction to the whole process that went on.
Okay, thank you.
May I? I know that, Richard, if you'll just talk a little bit about going back to the city manager code of ethics and how we
Right. Actually,
worked so hard there.
we went to this really became like the issue. Right, it was really, and so we went to the ICMA, the International City Managers Association. They have a website, and we found some language on that website, which basically has you get your severance pay unless you're basically convicted of a crime. And so it's, extreme, it was extreme, listen, it is the City Managers Association, but because we were trying to find other things, and Councilman Waldman honestly just was not comfortable with that. So, because there's a lot of things that could happen that could be grounds for termination that are not conviction of a crime, ethics violations and other things. And so that's where we came to this middle position.
Mr. Mayor? Yes. Just had a clarification question on that. So if we were to terminate him for conduct unbecoming, then essentially it's 3 months, it's over and done with, right? There's no litigation at that point. He's just agreed to a severance.
You could end up with, the process would be the similar process that we had to Mr. Shahada, which is you give him notice under the contract. We'd have to give him 2 months' notice. You would have your hearing. And then if you decided to terminate for conduct unbecoming, he would get 3 months severance pay. The possibility that he litigates with us over the same issue that Mr. Shahada is litigating with us over, which is, was their conduct unbecoming, still exists. It doesn't eliminate it.
Okay, and that's, because I was reading it, I mean, again, I just read the memo portion of it.
doesn't
but
eliminate it.
It kind of reads as, it's 3 months, and then it's over. It's not 3 months, or he can challenge the
Well,
termination.
I mean, anything that we do, you know, he can challenge, and so there's no limitation on that, but...
Well, that's why I was asking to make sure that it was clear which way it was.
Right.
Mayor? Yes. I have a question based on the presentation that the city attorney just gave. Again, I quickly read through the memo that I received this afternoon. Just, did I hear correctly? You said the technology allowance is, can you just repeat how you explained that bullet point, please? I move to extend the
First of
time
all,
another 30
clerk-
minutes.
The clerk has properly reminded me that, and the mayor, that, who didn't need to be reminded, that the meeting was extended for, what, a half an hour, so you need to extend it again.
I just made a motion to do it.
City attorney reminded me
Well,
that
I
it
was
didn't need to be done until 10 o'clock.
I've been correct on everything all night, but I was wrong on that.
Oh, my God. All right, motion. We got the motion, got a second. Okay, another 30 minutes?
I didn't hear any of that.
All in favor?
Aye. The technology allowance, Mr. Weiss, can you just repeat that portion to me, please?
Generally, what happens with upper level city employees, the way I understand it, is that they get that the city provides them, I guess they do with you as well, with a cell phone or a BlackBerry, and they pay for the monthly service, and that's the way it's handled. He has his own service. I don't know whether it's linked in with his wife's service or whatever it is. He wants to pay for his own. And so we took the amount of money, an approximation of the amount of money that it would cost the city to provide him with that service, and we're giving it to him. And he's going to purchase his own phone and so forth and so on.
I have a question regarding access to public records, though.
Right.
If he has his own phone, and I'm asking this because he is, from where he's coming from, there's some litigation going on of access to his text messages, so I'm sure he's being overprotective, maybe, I don't know. But in regards to serving as our city manager, how would that work with him having his own service and not going through our technology, whatever it's called, servers?
If he is dealing with city business, then it doesn't matter where that information is, it's still a public record. So look at the cell phone just like your home computer. If I happen to send you a contract and you get it on your home computer and it's there, it's still a public record. It doesn't matter where it is.
As a follow-up comment to that, as a definition, that sounds very black and white and very clear, but it's not.
Right.
I mean, access to public records, I mean, we can go to litigation over this, or whether he determines that something is city business or not. And so I just think that because of the environment that we're in, it would just be better. Did you explain to him that it would just be better and it would just be received better if he would just get a city-issued phone and just go with that?
I really didn't. Honestly, I didn't think it would really matter to anybody. I'm being 100% honest. I didn't really think anybody would care about this, and so I really didn't have a big discussion about him. He said I'd like to do it, and I said, I just didn't think that it would raise any problems, but so I did not.
Mayor, I mean, maybe I'm overreacting to it, but it sounds funny. Well, it sounds like it's not in line with what would usually happen, especially someone of such high level within the city.
Yes, Vice Mayor, please.
I don't think that's a problem. I would rather him have the city phone as well. So I don't, I was leaving that as something we could negotiate on, but I don't think that would be a problem because he's very transparent, and for whatever reason, I don't think that's a big deal. And I feel more comfortable with it too.
Yes.
Just for a point of technology reference, the difference is that if it goes through our servers, we know that we're backing up our data, so we will always have access to that. But if it's on someone else's server, we have we don't know how long they're backing it. Let's say they go with Sprint only backs it up for 3 months, then, 3 months pass, you can't request that. I mean, you could ask for the records, but it no longer exists. On our servers, they exist, and we have it on any time.
Okay.
Point of reference.
So if a motion, if we wanted to make a motion to have...
I make a motion.
So the clause would say that the city is going to provide the employee with a PDA or a BlackBerry device and pay for this and pay for the the
And I'll
monthly
second
service charges.
that motion.
I'll move that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else?
No?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Just to kind of raise it as a point, you know, most of the other stuff in here seems pretty standard. The only thing I just want to, I guess, express a concern is the 3-year contract versus, you know, maybe a 2-year contract, given that he's a new manager. Now, granted, we give him a big task to come in here, but, you know, we're still not clear how we're all going to get along. We may have different viewpoints. You know, it's kind of a new thing. So to have a 3-year contract, you know, I prefer maybe a 2-year contract, and then after that we can extend it. Just a point that I'm going to raise more so than anything else.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Yeah, another question. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe this is dealing with the health insurance, and maybe staff can answer. What is the amount that each employee pays, or that the city pays for health insurance? What is that amount?
Currently, the employees pay $10 a week for single coverage, whether it's HMO or the PPO, and the family coverage or dependent coverage is $50. Employee plus family is $50 a week, whether it's HMO or POS.
Right, but
I just want to say thank you to
Be hired, and at the time of going through his human resource orientation, he could really have the choice, just like a department head would, without needing council approval, to either stay in the program or opt out, because the department head's option to stay in or opt out doesn't come to council, right? Through the city manager?
Correct, but they wouldn't get the stipend.
Right.
If the department head chose not to select the city insurance, it would just be, they would just select on the form and that they waive insurance, and they would sign off on that, but they would not receive a stipend for it, or a monthly allowance.
Okay, I misunderstood that, I apologize. So if the council were then to opt out, would that have to come before council?
I really wouldn't know.
I was just trying to understand how that works, since you explained as department heads. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
You know, maybe I should keep my comments to myself, but this just sounds a little, I mean, if you knew how hard Richard and I have worked on this, it just, it's what it's coming to him. I mean, he gets that whether he uses it or not. His wife could have insurance with their company, and then if he took this, then he could have another insurance policy, you know? So it's due to him. The directors get it, the managers get it. So, again, I can't agree with this.
I think it's more the perception, you know.
But they get it anyway.
Yeah, but I like Councilman Burgess's thought on it to see where it's at, because then we've done our due diligence for the taxpayer. We didn't just say, granted, $20,000 extra chairs, you know, and he goes out and does, what he does is his business, but it's the perception, I think, that it's going to be viewed at when this council meeting's played.
Mr. Mayor? Yes. And I'm kind of torn on this issue myself, because at the end of the day, the city's not really out anymore for paying the premium. We're going to pay it if he has it or he doesn't have it. However, if he does have insurance someplace else, he's essentially getting a raise of $20,000. He's now making $200,000 a year as a salary. That's kind of a different agreement. It's you know, if he submits to us insurance and we cover it up to what we would have had to have paid, then that's fine. Then at least we're paying for his insurance somewhere else. But just to give him cash and have him not use it at all for any insurance purposes, that's a $200,000 paycheck. I mean, it's tough. I'm torn on this one.
Go ahead, Mr. Williams.
I'm sorry. I think I think that if he submits, if he has his own insurance and he wants to submit for reimbursement, that is allowable, isn't it? I mean, couldn't we allow that? If his wife, and he's on his wife's policy, or however it works, I'm not sure. If her insurance is $400 a month, then he can submit that to us for reimbursement and then be reimbursed for at the cost that of his health insurance. But to simply write a blank, I mean, what he's doing, let me tell you how I feel and how this is being interpreted to me. He was making $230,000 in Fort Lauderdale. He's taken $180,000 salary. He's cut the insurance, comes out to be $20,000, and then he wants his own technology refund of $150,000. It starts to add up to get him back to the salary where he was prior to coming to us. So I'm not going to be in support of that. And I think that if he submits the proper documents for reimbursement, I don't see a problem of us paying whatever the difference is, that it doesn't go over what we already pay now for the premium. That is my motion.
Mayor,
Yes, Vice Mayor.
you know, rather than, as I said, nitpick this to death, I would just rather put it in the contract that he has an option to have the insurance from the city, and if not, then be done with it. Because for us to say, well, you can only have 300, or you can only have 400, or you can only have 600, you know, it's just better just to make it an option to the an addition to the change the contract and just say that, you know, you will have city insurance, and you will have the choice to pick whichever plan you want. That's my opinion.
Sounds fair.
Somebody needs to make a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
I've already made a motion.
We're gonna,
I heard it.
do you like this motion? We got a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion.
Mayor, the motion is that he has to take city insurance, right?
Yeah, he either takes insurance or he just forgoes it and
No reimbursement.
no reimbursement. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any other items? I'll open the public hearing.
No, Mr. Mayor, just as a comment, no really other changes, but it does encourage me that if he negotiates it this type of good of a deal for him, I look forward to the contracts he's going to negotiate on behalf of the city. So this gives me a lot of hope.
He's awesome, man. Okay, at this time, they're hearing no further questions from council. I'll open the public hearing. If there are any questions from the public? Seeing none, hearing none, no public questions. I'll come back to council for final comments. Any final comments? No final comments, roll call vote.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
So before we move off this item, Mr. Mayor, how do you want me to deal with this? Just tell them what the council did and that's it?
Sure.
Okay.
If you want to put it in a written memo?
Pardon?
If you want to put it in writing to him, put it in writing to him.
I think we
No, I would
call him.
probably call him.
Okay.
Call him after the meeting and tell him what happened.
Okay.
And if he agrees to it, then we're fine. We got a city manager. If he doesn't agree to it, then
Back to
then
square
we're going
one.
to be back to square one.
My man.
Sorry, Julio.
We could have a special hearing.
Special call.
Special call?
Okay, item 17. Did we skip that? Item 17.
Tab 17, right.
Tab 17, acceptance of city clerk. What is it?
That would be a motion to accept the election results.
So moved, Mayor.
I'm
Second.
sorry, I missed something. I thought you were talking about tab 17.
Second.
We got it. It's acceptance of city clerk's certification.
No, it's tabs.
Yeah, it is.
November 2nd, special election, yes.
Tab 17 is the motion to
Yes,
accept.
second,
the
okay.
clerk's
Anybody, staff report, any info?
Basically,
Good?
you're just approving
Yes,
what was
thank you.
selected in code.
Yes, sir. Okay, questions from council?
I already moved it.
Okay, no questions. I'll open the public hearing. Any questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none. I'll close the public hearing. Any final questions from council? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, tab 19, the resolution.
of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving and authorizing a group health insurance contract with Cigna as insurer, providing for implementation and an effective date.
So moved. A second.
Okay. Staff report.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, what you have before you here is an agreement to change our health insurance, going from AdMed to Cigna. Basically, this plan matches our existing plan, item by item. It's the exact same plan, but instead of having an increase of 14% to our rate, which is what AdMed would do starting January 1st, this is only an 8% increase. Another, I guess, item regarding this is that this is a national network, whereby AdMed was only a local network, which allows anybody to use Cigna anywhere in
Yeah.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You did a great
Made
job.
a lot of great, met a lot of great people there that have helped and guided me along with some things. Thank you.
And with that, happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for staying so late. Meeting adjourned. Motion?
I
Second,
move.
all in favor?
Second. Aye.